Alright, hello everybody, it's Axo on the mic, and we will be jumping into the Eternal Super League just momentarily. And with me, I have Warlock, at least for now, and and Anarcho Mushroom also just joining the channel.
Hello, folks. Welcome to week 1 of Eternal Super League. I hope you've been waiting for this. I think we publicized it enough to get people to know about this event. So, welcome. Yes, Anarcho, if you want to say a couple of words before we start.
Yeah, sure. So hello. I'm in our room. Known, I guess, eternal enjoyer in the community. Yeah. So I suppose I'll just I guess I'll give a quick few words on kind of the premise of the league and kind of how it came about. It was pretty much I love Eternal. Anyone who's talked to me knows that I adore it. It's my favorite format in Netrunner, and after off meta month, I was kind of like, oh, well, there's not enough Eternal support, and I think between a lack of sort of big competitive events from OP, and then also a lot of the community, I think, not really having a ton of exposure to Eternal, I was like, well, what if we could change that? So I shamelessly stole an idea from the Magic the Gathering Vintage Super League and said, what if we did this for Eternal? And then I messaged Warlock and I was like, hey, would you be interested in this? And he said, yeah, I'd love to help you run it. I found some folks who would be interested in playing, got together a fantastic stream team full of incredible talent. And here we are. So the next 9 weeks, every player is going to play everybody. One player will have a bye each week. And at the end of 9 weeks, we will crown an Eternal champion who will get an opportunity to design an alt art of their choice, preferably a card that is common in Eternal or that they've played in Eternal. But yes, that is what we are competing for, and hopefully if there's a ton of support, we'll see more Eternal Super League. We'll see maybe a second season after this. But I think the main goal that me and Warlock share, and I think the stream team as well, is that the goal of this is to get some spotlight on Eternal, to get people interested in playing the format, and maybe show people that actually it's not this like rocket tag, everyone's comboing by turn 3 format. It's actually a really interesting, really deep format with a lot of gameplay and some really, really, really high-powered and fun Netrunner. And even just looking at the first game that we have up, it's Whizzard and CI, which are two of like the most powerful IDs that the game has ever had, and yeah, it's just gonna be wild, and I can't wait for more people to get eyes on Eternal and for people to really, really enjoy the format. Fingers crossed.
Absolutely, that's 100% what we do. I think I didn't say my name at the start, but yeah, I'm Warlock. I'm also helping running this league, although most, if not all, the credit goes to Anarcho, who's been doing a lot of work. Do we want to give a meta rundown of the IDs that we'll see in the first 3 weeks?
Absolutely. So where are we? Let me find my ID chart. So yeah, so I was actually really impressed with this ID spread. If you'd asked me to call it, before we got decks in, I would not have called this spread. But let me see. Does the stream have the technology to share screenshots?
Yeah, if you send them.
It's in the stream chat. So yeah, so we going into this, I think a lot of people would have said that the best runner was probably Whizzard with Clan Vengeance. And then Corp side, you're probably looking at Ob or CI as the best Corp in Eternal right now. But what I think we actually saw was that the most represented runner was actually Andromeda. 4 players are running Andromeda. We have 2 playing Whizzard. We have 1 Cabinessa Wu, People who are familiar with Eternal will be aware that World Tree has made a huge splash in Eternal, and I really do mean huge. We also have one Essa, and we have Eliza, which I to see on stream. Eliza, my beloved ID in Eternal. But Corpse side is also equally fascinating. Only one ob deck, really surprising. And only 2 cerebral imaging decks, and I think both are different, but I'm not going to say anything. I'm going to let that be a fun surprise for the viewers. And then we have 2 industrial genomics. Again, very solid ID. Got a ton of support from cohort guide program. We have a Mati. We have a Spark. The sole NBN Corp is Spark. We have a Skorpios. And we have a Cybernetics division, which I don't think I've ever seen played in Eternal, but I can't wait to see the deck in action.
Yeah, I bet a lot of our viewers are Googling or looking at NRDB, finding out what Cybernetics division does, because that's exactly what I did when I first read it. Someone was playing that.
So yeah, this meta looks really interesting. I'm really excited to see some of these decks. I've tried to make a point of of not checking deck lists too much, so I'm looking forward to a couple surprises. I'm looking forward to seeing what people have brewed, especially Spark, and I can't wait to see the World Tree deck, the World Tree Woo, if it's World Tree Woo in action. But yeah, that's our meta breakdown, and I think it's really exciting, and I think it's really very, especially Corpse side. I think it's super varied.
Yeah.
And interesting.
Yeah, the meta breakdown is great. I think one point I want to drive home for people who are watching is that if you're not a fan of the Shaper winter we had in Standard, come play Eternal. Shaper is only about 10% of the format, apparently.
Yeah. Yeah, there's only about 10%. It's a Crim meta. Are you a dissatisfied Crim player in Standard? Jump over to Eternal. You get to play the same deck you play in Standard, but way better. Take out your daily casts, replace it with Blue Moose. Take your Doofs, replace them with Siphon. Take your Carmens and Echelons and replace them with Bugalter. It's wild. It's so wild.
Yeah. Also, Andromeda is really good at dealing with a bunch of diverse threats. It's probably the ID or the archetype that better suits a different meta, and I think that's why around half of the players decided to lean into her power and just kind of try to adopt it whatever the corp is trying to throw at them.
Which I think is really interesting for phase 1. One thing that people should be aware of is that for the first 3 weeks, or for every 3 weeks, players are locked into deck lists. So the decks that people submitted for week 1, they have to play them until week 3. At which point then players are allowed to change their decks. So every 3 weeks, players will get an opportunity to change their decks. So I think going into an unknown meta game, you're not really sure what you want to try and beat or tech for, and is maybe the best runner to do that with. But I'm really excited to come back in 2 weeks and see what people have done with their deck lists, see what changes they've made, what the ID shift is going to be. Are people going to maybe play more Whizzard, to maybe beat some of the combo asset decks? Are people going to play more Shaper? Is this Woo deck actually maybe the best runner in Eternal, like some people have been saying? And are we going to see a spike in Woo? Maybe Essa is going to surprise us all. Or Liza, if you're willing to dodge if you're looking at one ob and you're sort of saying, well, the combo kill, the high profile target the copies of high profile target are pretty low, maybe Liza is actually poised to take advantage of things like CI, things like Central's light decks. Or maybe we see a complete curveball corp side and see a ton of Mati because everyone's prepping for combo and no one's prepping for Glacier.
Yeah, the whole metagame evolving throughout the something I'm looking forward as well. So I think we should get started and see the first matchup and get to experience the whole league.
Absolutely.
So Axel, I'll let you press play on the video so we're all synced up. and
Nara.
we'll get to commentate as soon as it starts.
Yeah, so we have, I think first up is Larrea versus Ysengrin.
Yeah.
Ysengrin, a very common name, a common old name in Netrunner, streamer, content creator, well-known Eternal player, known for his love of Eternal. He is on cerebral imaging, which I think should come as very little surprise to anyone. But on the flip side, we have Larrea, who is on Whizzard. She is primarily, I think, a standard competitive player, made top cut at EMEA last year, regular AMT grinder.
In fact, I think she top cut the last AMT yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. So definitely a front contender for like very good player.
Very, very strong player. Has been playing Eternal for a good while. And yeah, I think we are. I think I'm very excited to see what these players are up to, and see what exactly is brewing on Corp side.
Let us begin.
Yeah, I can start the show.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Oh yeah, it's not starting on those controls.
I can start it.
Yeah, it's
there
good.
you go. We're watching from the runner point of view. We have all the runners record their games, so you'll see everyone's point of view from their runner game.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna play a full match, so we're gonna see Ysengrin's side of the matchup from the decks they decided to play right after this one.
Yeah. So you'll always see the runner perspective, and the corp's hidden information the corp will always have hidden information. So yeah, we see both sides Ysengrin takes a mulligan, Larrea keeps her 5, and if you're looking at this hand, this is not a terrible start. We see Desperado, we see Banghar has made a huge splash in Eternal, especially when you combo it with Clan Vengeance. And we see is that a Reciprocites?
That looks like a Reciprocite, yeah. A good tech into brain rewiring, maybe?
Yeah, that looks like brain rewiring tech. Jeff going for a very just chill, calm start. Just making some money, icing up HQ, not really prompting a ton of response from Larrea at the minute.
Yeah, Larrea setting up, putting down the blue moves. I think it's 2 points of Eternal right now, so a lot of points spent on that one, but definitely great econ card throughout the whole game. And then Reciprocate pinging off one of the breakers, which is pretty good. And off the blue moves right away after Jeff goes for more setup.
I guess with CI, like you're probably looking at Banghar getting you through most of the game. CI does not like to ice up its servers a ton. It prefers to just maybe play single ice and try and combo quickly. But we're also seeing a Rizeki come down, a card I don't think we've seen in a very long time. Seeing more play in these kind of orientated runner decks that want to drip with Blue Moose and Rizeki.
He's definitely setting up fast. The 0 kind of tells me that Larrea is looking for and probably going to install a Clan Vengeance. That's usually the kind of 1-2 punch combo that Anarch are also playing in these days, and that's a really good way to contest CI's ability to combo off.
Yeah, the Clan Vengeance deck, especially with the printing of Banghar, has become a real force in Eternal. Being it probably, I think, the most commonly played card at the minute. Just because the disruption it provides is unparalleled. But we're seeing from Jeff's side, I think the first real big power card, Violet level clearance. This card just does so much, and when you pair it into CI, it's incredible. If you enjoy Hedge Fund, how about Hedge Fund that draws you 4 cards?
And gives you 4 hand size.
And in CI gives you an extra 4 hand size. Absolutely incredible card. And yeah, look at Jeff now, has 13 cards in hand. HQ not only is defending itself, but also defending a huge amount of combo pieces. What kind of combo that is, I think we're just going to have to wait and see what Jeff is able to conjure up.
Yeah, meanwhile, the Reciprocites are kind of giving a lot of value to Larrea. I think she drew 2 cards off of them, and they're looking to generate even more value as the 0 keeps ticking and the CV keeps gaining counters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this deck is already what are we like? Down to 23 cards left in the stack. Huge number of card draw on this deck, and we see the Clan Vengeance. Larrea now just wants to keep hitting the 0 button. Get that Banghar down. I think actually she got rid of the Banghar or maybe lost it to damage. But yeah, just wants to start plowing through ice, charging up the Clan Vengeance, charging up the Clan Vengeance power counters to try and take out some combo pieces from hand. Jeff, I think, just making money, drawing into his combo. Larrea matching a similar kind of pace, but with Jeff on 24 credits now, and with a huge hand size, I think we're going to see some fireworks pretty soon. We also see Rumor Mill is now in play. You will see this card a lot, folks. This card is very common, very ubiquitous in Eternal, just because of just how much versatility it's able to provide.
Yeah, there's a reason why we're using it for the background of all of our games, and the starting screen is that the card is just the A tier and shutting down a lot of different things the corp wants to do. Some corps kind of crumbles when facing against multiple Rumor Mill, and that's the reason why a lot of corps have to play Currents just to get rid of this or its little brother Employee Strike.
Yes, absolutely. It's a huge disruptive tool. It's a huge disruptive tool available to runners. I think it earns its 3 points on the Eternal points list. It earns it in spades, I think. But Jeff now taking some time to think. We have 14 cards in hand, 24 credits. No agendas have been scored. It's time to see, are we going to see a brain rewiring kill? Are we going to see maybe an efficiency committee combo? Yeah. We're going to hopefully see some combo action now.
Install, which is interesting because under Rumor Mill you wouldn't expect a CI to install a lot of things. The Wage Worker or the Jeeves or the Spin Doctors / Jackson Hour are all unique. So I'm expecting Jeff to kind of try and push an agenda out, and with the Biotic Labor coming right after, that kind of looks like it. You got to try to get rid of the Rumor Mill here.
And we're seeing a Biotic into a Biotic to score an efficiency committee. This agenda, we haven't seen it in Standard in a very long time. But it is a 4/2. When you score it, you put counters on it, and you can remove a counter and spend a click to gain 2 clicks. So this is 3 extra clicks. Now there is a downside. When you use that ability, you can't advance agendas, but you can still score them if you have other ways around that restriction, which there are plenty in the Eternal card pool.
Absolutely. We see a Faust down. That's an old, really powerful card. An AI that gets through anything using cards from hand. Extremely efficient at that as well. So definitely something to look up after. And I think Larrea is going to try and contest some of the servers, probably trying to snipe a few points from HQ before it. Jeff scored him, which is because now we kind of expect Jeff to try and get to 7 with the efficiency committee clicks, and he's gonna get.
Let me see a drafter. Common card. I think people playing Standard and Startup will recognize this card instantly. But thankfully, MK Ultra deals with that drafter very, very straightforward. Just for simple
I'm surprised by the choice of playing Drafter instead of Architect. That's an interesting include. Maybe we're playing both, and maybe Ysengrin decided he wanted more of a recursive effect rather than an explosive one from Architect.
Yeah, I think I have a feeling that you're probably playing both. I think Architect, gives you Drafter. I think has a lot of strong utility. The Archive Memories fact. Or the Archive Memories side of it is really, really strong. But we're seeing another install and another Clan Vengeance pop. Because, Jeff is probably going to try and push through some kind of a combo here. Now, CI from this board state can score 7 points. It's very, very hard to do. Usually you need a wage workers or a Jeeves. But yeah, it is possible for CI to just score the remaining 5 points in one turn.
Something we might have also overlooked is the D-source hitting the board. That one's definitely going to slow down any fast advance line.
That's an incredible interlude. That is a very, very targeted piece of hate there. I believe it adds 1 to the agenda requirement, or the advancement requirement for agendas.
That's correct, yes. And also puts a tax on the runner to steal, which I think is either 3 or 4 credits. But most importantly, it goes away after the first score or steal. So we'll see if Jeff decides to wait it out and see if Larrea can steal something, or if the CI can have enough gas to kind of score through a source.
Mm-hmm. Which it definitely looks possible with this efficiency committee. And Jeff, there is one of our ways of cheating around the efficiency committee restriction shipping from Sansan. It's 2 clicks and 0 credits, but you put 2 advancements on a card. And there we go, a Vitruvius with 2 counters. From here now, Jeff is basically going to have access to anything in his archives. And from there, probably able to find a way of scoring out a Global Food Initiative or an ICO or any other kind of 5-3. So Larrea now, I think, under a lot of pressure to start trying to get single accesses, try and disrupt, charge up this clan vengeance, and yeah, find a way to claw back some tempo, I think.
Yeah, the 2 Vitruvius counters kind of going against the clan vengeance. They're gonna help the CI kind of recuperate and play again all the cards that CV might get rid of. Also, I think we're worth mentioning that the 2 counters you get from the Project Vitruvius are above 3, not above the scoring requirement. So even if Jeff scored 5 through the source, he still got 2 counters on the Vitruvius, which is really important.
Yeah, that's huge. That's huge. We see a gatekeeper here on R&D. That's going to be a lot to break it with Faust. You're looking at, 1, 2, 3, 4 cards. You need to discard all cards if you want to break all of it. Or maybe you just let the draw 3 fire, but I don't think you want to do that at this point in the game against a combo deck like CI.
That's really risky, even though CI is down to 11 credits, so not the highest amount. Not a lot to score a 5-3 from this position.
Yeah, and we're seeing now Larrea is going to pass the turn. Not a huge amount we can do. Jeff has 11 credits. He has all the tools he needs now between archives and likely HQ to combo out. We see him just taking some time here, thinking through, does he have the win here? Does he have a way of scoring the remaining 3 points in one turn? Larrea does have a clan vengeance on 1 counter, so potentially is able to offer some amount of disruption, but it's going to be really hard. You're basically hoping to snipe a 1 in 10. But with 2 Vitruvius counters, how effective is that clan vengeance going to be? We're going to see, I think, very shortly what Jeff can pull out here.
Larrea checking her deck list, making sure she has a way to get that Levy back, because by the looks of it, I think she's out of recursion, and with her stack empty, the Faust and the Clan Vengeance are not going to get her very far.
Yeah, this is without something like a same old thing. I think I saw a Katorga breakout get lost a couple of turns ago to 0, which is really, really tough for this Whizzard deck to get back your levy, to recycle back in all of your gas. But potentially she's able to have just enough gas in the tank to get through into R&D or into HQ enough times to hopefully try and snipe a couple of agendas and get tempo back and maybe make this a little bit closer.
Yeah, I don't think the money is going to be a problem with Ryuzeki clicking, and the Blue Moo is still providing more and more value. I think she's going to be fine on that front. But
we're seeing Jeff looking for action. This could either be bait to bait out the Clan Vengeance counter, or Jeff could be pushing through the 3 points here. And with the source gone as well, that's going to be it's going to be very, very straightforward for him to combo if he has the pieces in hand.
Room will be being also adding some more things to that the CI has to think through. I don't think we've seen a Corp current yet, which is surprising.
Yeah, I don't know if this CI deck actually has room to play a current between both points and also between slots in decks. So yeah, I think Jeff is just hoping to clear currents by scoring agendas. Currents as Damon and Boggs intended.
Yeah, exactly. You put them down, your opponent is supposed to do something about agendas to get rid of them.
So yeah, Jeff.
Biotic Labor.
Yes, starting with Biotic, a classic.
We still need 2 more clicks to get a 5/3 off the board. Recurring the Biotic to play it again, I'm assuming. So maximum amount of clicks, but we're still 1 click short for a 5/3. And we're very, very low on credits.
Yeah, I'm wondering. Advance. FCOM gets you a click. Maybe he has a shipment from Sansan in hand, or a business from Usual, or a shipment from Kaguya as well. Oh yeah, and we see business as usual. A very unassuming card from Rebellion Without Rehearsal, but is basically extra copies of shipment from Kaguya, which is actually huge for this CI combo deck.
Yeah, extra consistency, giving you exactly enough tools to get your agendas off the board and on your score in your score area. See the Clem Vengeance firing, hoping to hit the last combo piece, but that's not.
No, Jeff has it. It was able to stay in hand, and Jeff, credit perfect.
Yeah.
Board of Asheron, and take first game of the Eternal Super League. A relatively slow game, I think, by CI standards.
Probably, yes. The 2-player definitely blazed through it. I think it's the timer is kind of stopped around 16 minutes, so definitely a quick game on that front. But yeah, you might expect CI to go even faster. Even though I think Larrea put a lot of put up a very good fight between all the currents and the CV, forcing the corp to res a couple of eyes, all things that the CI kind of doesn't like.
Yeah, so that was our first game of Eternal. Yeah, I think really interesting matchup there. The Clan Vengeance deck, I think, normally has a little bit of game into CI with Clan Vengeance and Banghar supercharging it. But losing that Banghar early, I think, really kind of like set back, or at least kind of forced the runner into taking a slightly more slower game plan, which let Jeff just build up enough time to get his cards together, get his combo pieces together, and then just combo out to 7 points. Not all in one turn, unfortunately. We didn't get to see the all in one CI7 style combo, or CI 2+5, but we did see kind of, you know, being able to score 3 points from hand. Really interesting, really fascinating combo, and hopefully we get to see more of this CI deck as the weeks progress.
Yep. Can't wait.
Neither can I. We have another game, I believe. Now we have the flip side of this one. I believe Jeff is playing Essa, and Larrea is on, I think, IG. Yeah, very weird matchup, that one.
Here it is. Oh, I started already, so we can.
We're just diving straight in.
I can pause it. I can pause it if we want to commentate on the matchup slightly before we start.
Yeah, I think so. I think we should maybe give a quick overview of kind of what these decks want to do. S is pretty similar to the deck in Standard. Wants to take a lot of core damage. It wants to sabotage you with things like Chastushkas and finalities. I believe Jeff has been pioneering a programless ESA. This deck does not run any program, like never mind breakers. It gets through ice by either clan vengeancing it from hand and bank harring through it. I haven't seen this deck in action, but I'm really, really interested to see what Jeff has done with this archetype.
Absolutely, yeah. DDoS, Bankar, and just kind of face tanking as many as you can, charging after Clan Vengeance and getting cores. Sounds like a blast. On the other hand, we have Larrea playing IG. Corp ID that says the trash cost of each card you own in anywhere from in your in the game is increased by 1 for each card face down in archive. So this is one of the cards that's extremely expensive point wise. IG has all the card on the point list. Cards you might want to include, but you can't because you'd go over 7 way quicker than you expect. Most of the time they're gonna build the archives with poisonous assets like shocks and breach domes that kind of deal damage and whittle down the runner's stack and cards in HQ and in hand rather, and slowly build a massive board of assets that are both terrifying to see res and also really expensive to trash.
Yeah, I think this is one of my favorite decks in Eternal. It's a little bit grind. It not really grind deck, same with PU is, but it wants to set up these net damage, hand size combo kills with a board that just becomes incredibly difficult to interact with. And I often joke about how this deck has gotten a ton of support in every release. You'll see a lot of NSG cards here. You'll see Bladderworts, Cohort Guidance Program, Fuji, Asset Retrieval, and tons more. This has gotten some surprising hits from NSG releases, including a cheeky Kakarenbo is often in to reset archives when the runner runs it to flip every card face up. So yeah, really interesting matchup here. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, let's get into it then. I'll press
Yeah,
play.
let's do it. So yeah, Essa looking at a hand here of Clan Vengeance, Inject, really good. Like, see a draw tool, Running Hot. This is one of 6 copies because Essa gets to play Amped Up in Eternal, which is the exact same, more or less, than Running Hot. You take a core damage, you pay a credit, take a core damage, and you gain 3 clicks. Some slight differences if you're playing the Shadow Net.
Yeah.
But more or less, Essa gets to play 6 copies of Running Hot in Eternal, which is wild.
Also, the unassuming Light the Fire, which is a way to get 1 more core damage at sometimes, is also really good into this matchup because it gets to trash something without having to go through the massive credit cost that IG would put down. So definitely Jeff was probably looking forward to when he loaded into the game.
And yeah, we aren't quite sure what Larrea, what kind of IG Larrea is working on. There are some power shutdown versions of the deck that use Nano Civic Grid, as well as the more asset-based versions. We're seeing Larrea keeps her hand and Jeff taking a mulligan, and we're just seeing a classic asset start. Install 3 votes.
Yep. Inject, hitting Rumor Mill, Ghost Tongue, Amped Up, and DDoS, so no programs, like good old 1 credit draw 4.
Yeah, so we're seeing a lot of options here for Jeff. So we have an Amped Up there in hand. There's also a Ghost Tongue. There is also a Titanium Ribs. This is an Eternal, really important card for this deck because it lets you choose what cards you lose to damage. Really big. It guarantees you get to hit things like Steelskin and Mosh, or Steelskin and Strike Fund, but also make sure that you can get rid of like things you don't need. And yeah, we're seeing the first core damage of the game, the first sabotage action, as Jeff plays down these 2 Cybernetics. And I wonder, will we just see? Yeah, I think we're just going to see a Rumor Mill to end the turn.
Looks like it, unless Jeff wants to do something else. Important to note that the cards being sabotaged go face down in archives, which kind of fuel the IG ability. And yeah, we see the rumor mill going down, kind of shutting down any unique asset that Larrea might want to use. Dexter tap to start a turn, kind of fetch something, whatever Larrea thinks it's necessary here. A really good asset tutor, something that standard might lack right now, outside of like the op ability. Standard has or Eternal rather has a lot of tutors like this.
Yeah,
And
we're
an
seeing
overinstall.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I'm just drawing up. So no reses here, which I think Jeff will be very glad for, not having to take any net damage this turn. But I am very curious to see what Larrea is working with. We see genotyping from HQ, very, very normal recursion piece. For IG, and yeah, we're going to see some extra clicks gained here for Jeff as he just goes digging.
Yep. Cards coming out from R&D on the sabotage. We see more and more clicks on the runner side, trying to set up down to 3 hands, which is really risky against IG sometimes.
Yeah, with things like Keeling and Chairman Hero, you can get flatlined from this position very, very quickly. We're seeing some of that Archives poison. Shock, Breached Dome, which hits actually a Strike Fund off the top, but we're going to see a Bacterial Programming. And this is where we get to see a really nasty combo here. Bacterial Programming, if you access it from Archives, you flip everything face up, obviously, when the successful run happens. If cards get added to Archives from the Bacterial Programming steal, those cards stay face down and you have to access them. So if you see Breached Domes or Shocks, they get added to Archives. And we're seeing that here. A Shock gets added to Archives, but Jeff can't flip it face up. So if he wants to get rid of that IG tax, he'll have to go in again.
Yep. Also, Jeff barely escaping with his life, I guess. If Larrea finds a Fuji and some other kind of damage source, that could have been it for the run. We see a Keeling getting res, but without any. Well, wait. How did we get rid of the first rumor mill? No, it's still going. So the Keeling is now.
Yeah, I think the first one got lost to net damage. I think we're seeing an iced remote, which is very, very unusual in IG, and we're seeing Jeff just burning through his deck here, finding that vengeance.
I now got the res on Keeling, even though it's currently blank. I think Larrea's doing that to get the Bloodworth Fire, which makes a lot of sense.
Huge plays here. A 3 res asset to do nothing.
Yeah, blank 3 cost asset.
Blank 3 cost asset. Love to see it.
And we're jumping in Archives again with the CV ready to get counters from all the damaging stuff, and a Hybrid Wars ready to pop.
And a Strike Fund. So Jeff is this is a really nice run here from Jeff. It's probably the best time he's going to get to try and clear Archives to turn off the ability, and just get rid of this Bladder Wart. Really, really frustrating card to deal with. We're seeing Jeff also just quickly look up the text of Cortex Lock, which could kill him.
That would be absolutely lethal right now.
Absolutely lethal. So yeah, I think he's just thinking, does he want to check maybe some of these remotes? Does he maybe want to force this ice res? IG doesn't have a lot of room to play end the run ice. This is not an ice-based deck. It typically plays very, very low numbers, even lower than standard asset decks. But no, just looking for credit.
Discarding the core damage card when you're on 2 hand sides, currently waiting for your console to come down and kind of give you more of a breathing room against IG. Taking more cores might not be the best, and also conserving the rumor mill for whenever Larrea finds a current to kind of take away that blanking power.
Yeah, these IG decks typically they don't have points to play a stronger current, like, say, Scarcity of Resources, but they do get to play Enforced Curfew, which is actually a current that really fits in with their game plan. So probably the corp that is most happy to play a current, because the current that they get to play actively helps them win them the game.
We see one more Bladderword rather coming up.
Yeah.
And
we're seeing Clan Vengeance there just wiping HQ. A card, yeah, an absolutely absurdly strong card. Yeah, Jeff is this Bladderword is ticking, and Jeff does not have a strong economy. This Essa deck, I think, runs very, very low to the ground in terms of economy.
And the Clan Vengeance getting 3 cards in the archive, kind of fueling the IG power again and making sure Jeff can't rush the Bladderword. Plays a little bit against what he might have wanted to do.
Yeah, I think Jeff is in a position here where I think he just wants to just try and deck out the corp, which is going to be very hard to do with, constant net damage pings happening from Bladderworts and potentially bioethics as well.
I think Jeff here is trying his best to find more hand size, and this is not looking good
this is
on his end.
Yeah, 1 card in hand. If there's a bioethics on the board, that is GG. If there is a Chairman Hero, or Chairman Hero will get blanked by Rumor Mill at the very least. But yeah, there's a lot of ways Jeff can lose the game from here.
I don't expect Larrea to play it, and I don't think Jeff ran, but what's his name? Neural EMP would be a good card for Larrea to find in this moment.
We're seeing an advancement? Something get advanced? Is this a clearinghouse maybe to keep Bladderwort credits low?
It's either that or Larrea's best chance at clearing the current, but no, we see a...
Oh
my god, I can't find the name.
Regenesis?
Regenesis, thank you very much.
Regenesis IG. I love it.
Taking maybe some of the cards from the punitive, the power shutdown IG that plays kind of scoring game plan, and trying to push the runner to interact with the archives as well.
And yeah, Larrea mentioning in chat there that you can actually pop CV to turn off the Regenesis ability. But Jeff just not thinking that we're in a place to score agendas, but here we are, an IG deck that's on 4 points.
I wasn't expecting that either, and I think players who are going to play Larrea's Corp in the future will definitely look forward to kind of making sure they don't fall for the same trick.
Yeah, so now Larrea is on low money, but that's fine with the Bladderwort. And now with this Rumor Mill gone, that Keeling is going to start ticking up, and there's a Rashida that has been here since turn 1.
All right, with Rumor Mill going down, Larrea could not use the Rashida for a while, so this is the first chance she gets to actually fire that powerful ability, gain the money, get the cards in hand.
Let this be if you're coming here from primarily playing Standard, where you're very common to seeing Rashida fires, here's a corp that does not need Rashida to get itself into a winning position. Welcome to Eternal.
So players kind of chatting about their game plan right now.
Yeah, I think so. Jeff isn't completely out here. Clan Vengeance is a really, really good card. These IG decks, from my experience, really, really struggle with Agenda Flood. They have nothing like a DBS. They don't get to play Spin Doctors or Jackson Howards because of point restrictions. So their agenda control is actually really, really poor, which leads to these Clan Vengeances actually being able to fire off a bunch of points into archives. The issue is archives, if you gamble at the wrong time, could just end the game for you between Keeling, restricting your hand size, and Bladderwort. And here we go. This is do or die. Win the game.
Jeff is currently dead on board with 0 cards in hand, so no way to take more core damage, but hopefully enough CV triggers to find the agendas in archives and run them. We'll see if Larrea has something to get out of the situation, or Jeff wants to try and crash the Keeling to get away from the 0 or rather -1 hand. So there we go, find a brain cage.
Finally found a brain cage.
Yeah.
But yeah, needs to deal with this Keeling, needs to deal with this Bladderwort, and this is the pinch that IG puts you under. It forces you to deal with the board, but you have to hit archives to take net damage, which means then that you're opening up all the other tools. Then it's harder to take net damage because of Bladderwort and Keeling and bioethics and hostile. So yeah, really, really tough bind. Jeff not out. Not by any stretch of the imagination. I think we just had a little bit of an internet connection issue.
Yeah, that looks like it
during this game. But yeah, really, yeah. I think Jeff just needs to find a way. If he can find a way to deal with this Bladderwort, I think he can kind of buy himself another little bit of time. But yeah. It could be very interesting to see how he navigates this turn. Maybe he just goes for a run on archives to try and steal 6 points.
That would be probably my line. On 3 credits, I don't see much else. But then again, you're not dead on board right now. Maybe it's better to just wait and see if you can get even more cards in the bin, in the archives.
Yeah.
You're going to wait it out. Hopefully, Larrea doesn't have 2 damage coming down right now in those 7 and 8.
Yeah, Bladderwort and any 3 or less res cost card lets Larrea turn on the 2 Bladderworts to kill. Unless now there is obviously the potential that this is a Steel Skin Drive worse in hand, which does keep Jeff alive. But these runners know that this is 2 net damage is a flat line. And there we go. We only needed 2. Larrea is going to do 3. That is Bladderwort, bioethics. And Larrea asking if this is game. And
unfortunately for Jeff, there's nothing in hand that can save him. It's not a Have It Worse or a Steel Skin, so that is it. That's game.
GG. That is IG. GG, I guess. And yeah, that just kind of goes to show you like some of the power that IG is able to put on board. Really, really powerful game-winning assets. And backed up with like really constricting cards with an ID ability that just makes it harder for you to interact. Really, really classic IG gameplay there. But what a cool ESA deck from Jeff's side of the field.
Yep, very games on both sides. We end up with a corpse split. So
yes, corpse split for these players. These players will enter the league at this point in time. They're joint first on 1-1 records. But yeah, great start to the league. Great first match. At this point now, I'm going to bow out. I believe, and I'm going to I'm gonna hand things over to Baram Wu, a fellow Eternal player. So enjoy the rest of the stream, folks. Glad to see so many people in chat are chatting away and watching. I'm gonna hand my microphone, my virtual microphone, over to Baram Wu, and let him and Warlock guide you through the rest of the evening. Thanks, everybody.
Bye, Narco. Thank you for being here. And Ba, are you in the chat? Can you hear us?
Good evening. Oh crap, my voice. Hello, humans, pyroids, and clones. How are we all doing? That was a fun game.
That was a really fun game. Let's jump into the next one, see if we can get that started. I'll put up Jai versus Silent Arbiter. Our game 1, if it loads, which is currently not doing. There it is. Took a while.
So that was a corpse split, right? I think I caught just the very end of the of the first game.
That's correct. Yes. We had CI winning against Whizzard, and then IG beating up ESA.
I mean that's always the IG versus ESA is a really interesting match, because what ESA wants to do is put cards in the bin face down, and what IG wants to do is have cards in the bin face down. So it's always a bit of an interesting one. So here we've got Andromeda, really popular criminal, probably like the choice of criminal, I think, because it's almost always worth playing Andy to start with and then just rebirthing into someone else. I think it's very rare, unless you're playing like a Liza Tag Me deck or something like that, that you kind of almost ever start as anyone else in criminal. Maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to be the correct way to do things.
Absolutely, yeah. Unless you're playing Liza, which I think is the only other one that makes sense. But here we see, I sneakily saw in our Silent Arbiter's hand a Heartbeat, which is a really interesting tech card. Protects you against any kind of damage. So the only way to save yourself from net damage, core damage, and meat damage are also, all of them are kind of combo killing people in Eternal. So it's a really good way to blanket, protect you from anything in the console slot. However, giving up the powerful Desperado that a lot of criminals and even some Anarchs are importing.
So that suggests to me that that Silent here is probably on crowdfunding as one of their as their kind of points option, because crowdfunding is a pretty sick way of like always having cards on board that you can trash to Heartbeat. You can get them back. Although here we're playing against Skorpios, so I don't know if we're ever getting any of those crowdfundings back again.
Yeah, Skorpios, for people who don't know, once every turn you can remove a card. When a card gets trashed, you can remove it from the game. So we see this Boomerang breaking the Engram Flash. I'm expecting Jai, there we go, to remove it from the game. So while Silent can fire this the powerful Count Siphon and kind of getting his economy going, he won't be able to sneak in service as easily with boomerangs and stuff.
And because of that, Skorpios is always seen as one of the sort of primary rig shooter options, because if you can start trashing some of the programs that the runner has, either from hand or from board, and there's various tools which you have to do that, then you can remove them at the same time, and all of a sudden the runner very much runs out of options for how to actually get through your ice. So we're actually likely to see not just ice, but quite a lot of end the run ice, which is fairly rare for Eternal as a whole.
Yeah, apparently, actually, I think the volume is too high on the video, and I'm looking at the chat. Yeah, there we go. Awesome. So I'm way too late on that one then. But yes, a lot of ice. I think Skorpios kind of wants to put a bit of ice on the board, slow down the runner, and also kind of snipe their programs in a way that they can't get in anymore in the later part of the game.
Yeah, I don't know if we managed to get away of pinging cards up, but if we did, a card to always be aware of in Skorpios is one that's called Hunter Seeker, and a particularly nasty card which was on the restricted list when it was legal during Standard, so that you couldn't play it and Skorpios at the same time. And it basically just says if you stole an agenda last turn, then it's a double, and you can just trash a card, and it can be anything. It doesn't have to be a program, any card, and it will be gone. Which is incredibly powerful, especially if you're running some sort of smaller agendas and like these hostile takeovers, for instance. You accidentally steal a hostile, and suddenly you've lost one of your free breakers, and you're never getting it back at that point.
Yep. Also, Silent Arbiter kind of giving Jai a chance of removing some cards with Banker, ready to take cards from the runner's hand. We also see Aaron 1 point worth of agenda, worth of eternal points rather. A really powerful card that gets rid of tags and gives you cards using the power counters you get when you steal an agenda.
Yeah.
When you score as well, right?
Yeah, I think it's scored or stolen, and it gets 2 counters, and then you get draw, and you get ability to remove tags. It's an absolutely buck wild card, which can really depend on what type of match you're playing in Eternal as to how good it is. If it's one where Corp is actually scoring and so has agendas, like more than 6 agendas, for instance, or even 4, which is I think the minimum you can play in Eternal. Then it can be really, really good because it can build up counters very quickly, and all of a sudden you can just draw an absolute ton of cards.
Yeah.
Jai turtling up pretty nicely here. I think we've got Bankar facing this server. Interestingly, Silent seems to be kind of happy to face check this, potentially losing his Begolta and probably regretting that right now.
Well,
although
to be
at
fair,
least
the heartbeat can kind of tank some of the damage using the card on the board rather than the card in hand. So if you want to protect the cards you have holding in your grip, and I think we'll see Silent do this exactly right now. You can.
that is true, and should be something which I should be familiar with from playing Bankar Heartbeat in Apex, but kind of had forgotten here. So it also kind of makes sense for why Silent might be installing some cards, even though like you maybe wouldn't normally install DreamNet in this kind of a matchup because you're not expecting to make an absolute ton of runs, for instance. But one more card on the board is one more card that you can trash to Heartbeat, so it can be useful there.
Definitely an expensive one, DreamNet, I want to say, but that definitely works. The Citadel kind of also is maybe some fodder that Silent doesn't care about keeping for too long. We'll see what he wants to trash.
Yeah, you can really see here. Like, also, it's worth noting that there's pauses, like quite a lot of pauses, and you kind of have to do this when you're playing against Skorpios because, unfortunately, at every single point in the game, whenever a card hits the bin, the Corp has an opportunity to remove that from the game. And so if you you have to kind of go a little bit slow when you're playing against Skorpios, just to give the Corp player time to go, I want to remove that from the game.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate kind of implementation of the ID. Janet, to make sure it triggers every time, doesn't stop the game, so you don't get a official pass priority. So you have to kind of wait out for the Corp to do their thing.
Yeah, we're also seeing in hand here a cash, which not a card which you tend to see outside of pawn shop decks, but kind of makes sense if we're doing this kind of Heartbeat Bankar thing that's going on. It's like 2 credits for a clickless install. It's a program that you potentially could trash to something like an SDS, but also it's just a card in hand, which or a card on board, which you can then use as a way of like trashing it to Bankar damage, which is very probably going to happen here.
Yeah. I think we're shaping up to kind of try and contest at server 3.
Yeah, I think probably just running through here, taking all of the net, installing the cache, importantly, so that Silent's comfortable taking 4 net damage, and then also having a program to trash the SDS, because there is 0 chance that that a Scorp deck isn't on 3 copies of SDS.
Yeah, I would expect SDS as well. Kind of goes hand in hand with Skorpios. The 2 saw each other in standard, thank God, I want to say. But they're definitely a very powerful combo in this format.
Yeah, I think even the art on SDS, I think it is found. It's either on Hunter Seeker or it's on Scorp, or they're taken from a thing. Fix asking in chat if my voice sounds a bit rough. That is because I was out all last night watching Helena Hoff. So I'm fine. I'm feeling good. But yeah, I did a lot of like shouting. So a little bit worse than wear. Looks like we're getting through here though.
Yeah. Jai opting to remove the count cipher from the game, making sure Silent can recur it later on to kind of damage their economy.
Which makes sense as well. Like the one issue that Skorpios has more than probably like any other deck in Eternal, I think, is money. Like Skorpios can feel really, really poor when you're trying to play it, because you have to sort of usually have a fair bit of ice. You probably want to have some sort of proactive program trashing, maybe, or some way of forcing interaction. And all of a sudden, your money slots are kind of taken up, especially as you're a 40 card ID. So like most of the time you're going to be playing 44 cards. Finding those econ slots can be tough.
Definitely. I think interesting decision by Silent to kind of crash the cache here. And yeah,
That is
the SDS and having to pay the cost by sacrificing the book altar.
so that really surprises me, because I assumed that cache was there to trash to the Golden. Now the one good thing here is that Skorpios is a once per turn. Now Criminal is not famous for playing recursion, but maybe in a Bankard deck, then Silent has some way. He has like a Levy or an Ashen or something. Like I mean, that's a lot of influence, and we've already seen a fair amount of influence with the heartbeats and the Bankards. So there might be some way of getting that Begolta back into the deck, and he's gonna kind of need it, because otherwise, as much as he can get through this Archer, 4 net damage at time is a lot, and Jai can just keep pushing here each turn. I mean, this could be an agenda. It might even just be something like an NGO, which Jai is quite happy for Silent to take.
Yeah,
4
I would
net
not be
damage to deal
shocked
with.
if Jai decides to install and double advance a standoff and just sit on it and hope that Silent kind of runs through it, having to face check the Archer over and over and over. But it looks like Silent changing plan, running on R&D this time around, trying to get Jai to res more ice.
Okay, we see a board control, which Silent has a way of dealing with it at the moment, because we do have a turtle in hand. We're making this run on archives. Okay, we get a card draw off it. It's interesting. I'm like somewhat unsure about. Oh, okay. We're wanting to get the tap one down.
There you go, and that makes sense. Even though the corp isn't very rich right now, so maybe that's not the best thing to get down. But the only way to get a kind of a throwaway program sometimes, to maybe steal the next SDS or crash to the Bankard heartbeat combo, and there you go, the second expected the standoff coming out of the remote.
This is actually like standoff here has some extra power as well, because most of the time you would just happily probably trash like maybe that tapworm or a different card to deny the corp 5 credits, because 5 credits in a card draw is a lot when Jai's on 1 credit. But anything you do at that point is definitely going to get Skorpios, so it's quite tricky to go ahead and go with that as a man. Do we? I was going to say, do we potentially see a like install turtle and then throw out this account siphon? But I guess Jai could probably res on HQ for what's he on? Is that 5 credits, 6 credits?
Yeah, he's on 6 credits, so more than likely the ice is gonna drain some of their credits and maybe not make the siphon worth. But then again, that prevents the score for in the next turn. So it's a Silent instead goes for a more setup build where he puts down 2 caches ready to get those thrashed to net damage.
Yeah, net damage, or again, so that he can maybe steal an SDS at a later point. So we do see the one recursion that we do see here. We see copies of Same Old Thing, which is good, but it's very tricky to play Same Old Thing when you're playing against Skorpios, because if there's something that's really powerful, then it's not going to hang around in your bin for too long.
Definitely, I expect Skorpios to kind of get rid of a lot of these things over the course of the game. We see one more ice in R&D, one more push in server 3. And Jai kind of slowly setting up a lock where the runner has a hard time getting through all these eyes without the programs they need.
Okay, so this out in the open is almost definitely going to be a Jackson. I think Skorpios is one of the decks where you're not worried about points because you end up with an absolute. It doesn't really use any of the eternal points.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen any actually. I didn't
No,
mention it.
we see a Typhonium resed. That's going to be 3 net damage because we do have the Bankar on that. This is interesting. Silent here stopped the net damage. I think you just take all 3 net damage, right, to the face because you're going to lose the other cards to Ysengrin Flush anyway.
Well, that's assuming Jai guesses the right type correctly. If you're keeping 2 cards of different types, at worst you only lose 1. So maybe there's some merit to actually keep a few cards in hand and see if their corp can guess the right types.
Okay, that's a fair point. I think the and Jai misses as well with his hit here. So screw me. I don't know what I'm talking about. But this is okay. We see our first crowdfunding. This is a good time for Violet to potentially build up some of these turtle counters.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's just a standoff. That's very scary. So that suggests that there's potentially a Hunter Seeker in hand, which you're going to have to remind me if it's 2 or 3 credits to play one because I think Jai can Hunter Seeker next turn.
I'm pretty sure it's 3, but that wouldn't stop Jai from playing 1. I'll look it up right now. Hunter Seeker is officially 2 credits. You were right. So on the cheaper end of the 2 you're thinking.
We also are seeing, we do see probably the last bit of influence. We do see that 1 copy of Levy. So there is ways of getting all those cards back into the deck, or at least the ones which haven't been removed from the game yet.
This looks like a tough matchup for a runner that wants to recur the crowdfundings and like a bunch of cards in from the bin into the deck.
Totally.
Skorpios preying on this kind of runners. I think we've seen Levy on both of the runners we've seen so far. So Ysengrin and Larrea were both on Levy. So definitely a interesting meta call from Jai that kind of pays off here.
Jai in chat, I think he's upset that he didn't Skorpios the Siphon. But it's one thing as well about we saw the Hunter. Sorry, that was the Hunter Seeker. So this is why this sort of, I'm just going to stick a standoff out in the open because if you run it and steal it, then it's actually really bad for you.
Yeah, and instant remove from game, saying bye-bye to the turtle.
So we do still have our Bagultra in the bin, which we can still get this Levy currently. We haven't seen any other breakers yet. There's a mutual favor in hand, so we could. I assume that's going to go and get the barrier breaker that Silence is on. If we get through and make this run, maybe.
You have to, with both border control and Titanium on the board, you kind of need a Fructor, and we see Jackson Howard. You called it right. Kind of shuffling away points and saving Jai.
So also Skorpios is the absolute Skorpios is the best answer to Boomerang, which is obviously like often very upsetting for people in terms of sort of a card which kind of keeps coming back, but Skorpios is one thing where you're like, well, you can use a Boomerang once, but it is a tool. You're not going to get it back unless you play it very, very slyly and you've lost something more powerful already that turn.
Yeah, especially when you're not on Employee Strike, which is kind of the way runner might get around the Skorpios ID in this format, but we see Silent playing Corporate Grant, so definitely not getting those Boomerang back anytime soon.
Yeah. I'm assuming that that's probably influence more than points. Because we, I'm assuming we're on 2 Bankar. There is a chance that we're only on 1. Maybe we're on sort of 1 Bankar and hostage or something along those lines. Might actually be perfectly fine.
Yeah, I was about to say, Criminal is the one faction that's good at tutoring current or like connections rather. So
Mhm.
I wouldn't expect more than 1 banker in the list.
Yeah, that's fair. And you've also got, if you're on Aramaron as well, but you've got another really good sort of hostage option here.
Yeah.
Bit of a that was a scarily long think where I was wondering if Jai was considering resing an archer, which would, I guess, would just do damage here, but would probably hit this levy.
Yeah, and Jai
ending
offering
his
the border
run.
control. After
Okay.
eating the banker trigger, so maybe
Yeah.
kind of waiting silent and running again.
Yeah, so I think Silence called the same thing as me. There was a bit too much of a pause on the it's a ballista. Wow. That's a card which sees no standard play, but does make sense in Skorpios if you haven't got the influence for something like Roto Turret.
Oh wow, and we hit a second SDS.
I
The
mean, this
tapworm we
tapworms.
installed several turns ago that probably clicked for a couple of bucks at this point, paying dividends right now as the fodder for the SDS.
Yeah, because otherwise you've got to trash this Kurapira, and then you're in a really terrible spot.
Yeah.
I feel like Silent. I feel like Silent should have installed the other tapworm at that point. I don't know. I don't know what you think, but having been able to make a run on centrals, getting another program down, just so that if you do happen to just touch that single last SDS, you can. I guess you're going to have a breakdown actually, so maybe that's fine. Maybe you don't need one now.
Yeah, I think that's what's going through Silent's head. Is I don't need another for SDS specifically, because as long as I have the one breaker that got me in the remote, I can just sack that to win the game.
We are seeing that.
Yeah,
we're seeing that 1 copy of Hostage as well. So yeah, we can assume that there probably is just 1 Bankar. So we might have another free influence, unless Silent's playing a full play set of heartbeats, which seems keen.
I mean, it looks like the key of the deck is this kind of heartbeat banker combo. So maybe that's what's happening. Also, with Dreamnet going around, I wouldn't be surprised if Silent is also on John Mazanari as another hostage trigger, or target rather.
Does John Mazanari give you a link?
No, it doesn't, but it gives you a card when you run.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what Dreamnet is doing, right?
Yeah, that's true. John Mazanari has some scary It's sometimes a problem. Let's put it that way. Like,
Yeah,
especially
but
with
with
cards like
banker going
Border
around,
Control.
I don't think Silent is going to have problems getting in.
Yeah. Okay, we've just seen another Hunter Seeker. So that was played to delete the Kurapira. So quick check of the actual the breakers in the RFG section here. We've lost the Kurapira forever. We've lost 2 boomerangs and we've lost a turtle. We still technically have access to the Bagolta. We're going to need to levy it back first. So R&D there's still potential to get through there. We can possibly get into server free, and obviously we've got Bankar, so we can technically get in most places right now.
Yes, I want to ask you a question. Do you think, given that Jai RFG removed the boomerang last turn, that it would have been better for Silent to kind of lose the Kurapira instead of the Tapworm? That way he can levy it back later and kind of protect it from a Hunter Seeker.
Yeah, that's a really good shout actually, because yes, Scorp had already been used, right? On the turn where it was SDS'd. So yeah, I think very possibly, because you've got to always almost assume that there's another Hunter Seeker in hand. You hope that there's not one, but you've got to kind of assume that it is. here we're seeing that rebirth, as mentioned earlier,
419.
which we've gone 419. Kind of seems correct. I wouldn't have been totally shocked to also see Leela as an option.
Yeah,
Just
Lila would have
as
been an interesting choice.
yeah, maybe because Jai's already scored 2 hostiles and 2 standoffs. Like there's less of those small 2-1 agendas which Jai's clearly on. But we could still see. I mean, we haven't seen an eminent yet, but I would not be surprised at all to see that Jai was on eminent. And there's a vamp. There's our other influence. Wild.
Yeah, but I'm probably going to take most of Jai's credits away. Another suggestion for the rebirth, I think, could have been Mercury, given we are on Banker, kind of getting us through ice without having to break them.
I like that.
That's a good way of getting more accesses and kind of try to find the last point.
Especially at this point in the game where really you just need to touch another agenda. It doesn't matter. Well, okay, it doesn't matter what it is as long as it's not a standoff, but you just need to touch another agenda and you win. So actually, I kind of really like that. It would really force Jai to get like a second ice on R&D, because otherwise doing 1 net damage or 1 card's worth of damage, if you like, per turn to get 2, to see 2 cards seems pretty good, especially in Criminal where we don't really have much multi-access.
Yeah, you gotta love the all crowdfunding, immediately trash it to Heartbeat to run
Yeah.
R&D.
Yeah. That's a Marcus Batty, which we've just seen, a very, very powerful card. This is a card which has been seen as problematic before. It has a side game on it where generally if you're playing a Marcus Batty deck and you win the side game as the comp, you normally win the game. It's normally triggering something which is so good for your plan. Either it's doing like an absolute ton of net damage all in one go, or it's trashing a program or something like that. And without the aid of something like Rumor Mill, I assume he's unique. I would hope so, but without a Rumor Mill or a pinhole or a way of getting rid of him from a server before you run it, then it's very scary to run into a server which has a Marcus Batty in it.
I'm interested in seeing how Jai kind of pulls up. He has been removing all of the like several of the breakers out of the game, but patching the giant hole that he has on R&D kind of looks like an important thing to do here.
Yeah, and the fact that he hasn't removed the Bagolta. Now, one thing that Silent possibly has to play around is the fact that the Bagolta is, let's put a big inverted commas around it, but let's say it's safe currently because it's in archives, so it can't be removed from the game by Skorpios. But there's always a chance that Jai might be on something like an Arc Lockdown, just to really kind of cement that idea of getting rid of stuff. And if so, then if Arc Lockdown comes down at any point, for people who don't know, it just basically says you take your bin and you just remove the whole bin from the game. No, that's not what it says. That's the free one.
That's not what it does.
Says pick 1 card. Pick what? Is it 1 card or name a card and
name a card. It says name a card, remove any copy of that card in the heap of the runner. So yeah, it would get rid of 1 more breaker from Silent. Although I don't know if Jai expects Silent to actually recur a lot of his arc bin yet, because he hasn't shown the levy. And this is the first game of the league, so obviously he doesn't know about the levy from prior knowledge. So maybe he's not expecting the runner to get a lot of stuff back.
He might not, but he might come to the same conclusion that I did, that like if we've seen sort of Bankar in Criminal, like if I see a Bankar deck, then I'm always slightly assuming that somewhere there's a way of getting some more cards, because if you're really leaning on Bankar, you need to have ways of getting stuff back. So it really depends on whether he's probably doing a little bit of influence counting, and maybe this vamp really throws him off that in terms of working out the the influence, because this is another 2.
We also see the
Yeah.
Shibboleth coming down, ready to break the Engram Flash. Although with the being a threat 4+, the Shibboleth is definitely going to pay a lot of credits to get rid of those two.
Silent's got unlimited credits right now. I think he's
currently yes, but a lot of them are going into the Vamp right away.
True, that's true. If people haven't seen Vamp before, this is a horrendously fun card. It's like Siphon on steroids, but it's only bad. There's no upside to Vamp. All you do is you pay a ton of credits and you delete that amount of credits from the corp. You take a tag on doing it as well. But a very kind of powerful way of going, if I've got a ton of credits, then I'm just going to take you back down to 0 and see what you can do from there.
Yeah. Also, one of Silent's favorite cards, honestly, Vamp. I know he loves the card a lot, and
Yeah.
he'll probably get rid of the tag right away to make sure he doesn't lose the banker, which is currently keeping him in like being able to run a lot of these servers.
Absolutely true. Especially as we're now assuming that there is just the one banker. So if that goes, then we're in a lot of trouble.
I mean,
but
the
yeah,
stack is empty, so there isn't going to be a second one for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So this, I mean, I don't see Silent installing any of these other cards. And actually, you were right. A lot. Okay, maybe he installs the Class Act. No, he doesn't have money to, surely. But yeah, it did look like Silent had unlimited credits, but yeah, he's very quickly down to very few after kind of draining all of Jai's, having to remove a tag, having to get through the ice.
Yeah.
So it's the one time where you'd have much rather it just be an account siphon, I think.
Definitely, yeah. And the 6 credits to break the Engram Flash, and then the 8 to make sure Jai goes back to 0 is 14 credits. So definitely, even thanks to the 2 bad pubs, that's still a lot of money.
So here, Silent feeling confident that he can just banker through this ice, trashing probably the Aramaron. I'm assuming he's assuming that's not going to get many more triggers.
Yeah.
The Tapworm, maybe the Dreamnet.
I mean, definitely not taking any damage because the Bogalder in hand is definitely one of those important cards that he does not want to lose. So yeah, it looks like a Dreamnet is going. The Tapworm is going.
And again, we're seeing these pauses after each one. He's just letting Jai have the chance to go. Do you want to remove that one? Do you want to?
Yeah, as far as I can tell, also Jai's clicking each sub manually because there was a kind of a bug earlier where the ice fired one additional sub where it shouldn't have been. So I think they're playing it a little slower because of that. We see a Jackson Howard shuffling away hedge fund, Marcus Butty. So ways to get back the credits and also kind of defend the remote server.
We're taking this dirty laundry on archives just while we can. We're assuming it 2 credits. Jai's probably not being able to res anything there. Plus, even if he does, if it takes him down lower than 2 credits, then that's good for Silent right now.
Absolutely. Jai Relentless pushing out another agenda. Revealing a hostile takeover and using it to get several credits. Definitely a breather that he needed to get some more momentum going.
Yeah, and Bad Pub's a good one for Skorpios, because the Bad Pub always comes with its risks of being able to use that money to break ice on runs. But if you don't have any breakers, then you're not breaking any ice. So Skorpios doesn't really mind if you end up having sort of lots of Bad Pub and lots of money, because if you can't use that money for anything useful, then it ain't so good to you. Yeah. We're seeing big turtle up now. 3 ice on R&D. That's starting to look pretty scary to get through.
Yeah, but R&D very small and still a lot of points going around. We've only seen 9 go, so there's 11 points somewhere, and Jai on 2 cards in hand wants to make sure Silent can't get in R&D often enough to find points to win. Silent play. I like the class act in Andromeda as a way to like the quoting the runner again in the reserve slot.
Yeah, you've got to love sort of playing double Andromeda. It's the far more fair and less disgusting version of playing double noise in noise, which isn't something that we see very often. But when you do see someone do like, or you can even play the triple noise because you can have the Augustina down as well, and all of a sudden it's doing a lot of stuff. I've installed one virus and a lot of things happen.
Also, turns out Criminal only has 2 good drawing cards, and they're both Andromeda.
Yeah. So true. So true. I mean, crowdfunding technically draws you cards.
Yeah, that's fair. We'll take 3 cards, I guess then.
Okay,
pushing
so
out one more agenda, but it looks a bit, or an additional standoff trying to bait Silent into stealing that one.
yeah, I mean, it's interesting, this, isn't it? Because it's got to be a standoff, or Jai's got to be confident that Silent definitely can't get in here, because there's no point in. Well, it definitely can't be a hostile. Actually, we've seen all the hostiles.
Yeah, it can be the third standoff at worst.
Yeah. It could be the SDF, and the scary thing here is if you want to go and contest it, then you need to, or you want to do anything. So, for instance, to play this account siphon, you need to install that Bagolta first, because otherwise you're going to lose it. And you're in this funny position of like you have to install your breakers, but you also don't want to install your breakers, because if this turns out to be an SDS and Jai has enough money to score it out next turn, then you're in trouble.
Yeah, but the siphon here kind of Silent hoping that it's enough to get Jai not to res the outermost eyes, or at least slow them down enough that he can't score the next agenda. I'm expecting Silent to kind of pivot to the remote right away and try and steal the agenda if it's there.
I would think so too. Now, the big blowout here will be Typhonium, which Jai can res because he can sack one of his agendas to res it for free. A really disgusting ability. There's a reason that this card is probably not legal in standard right now.
Yeah. Also,
especially. Carry on.
Sorry. Very important. Silent clicks to run the server 3, he's not going to have enough clicks to clear the tags, which probably means that Jai can crash the banker and kind of close the game out from there.
Okay, so this, so for that reason, it's an SSL, that's a win!
Oh, that was an agenda, wow.
So in chat earlier, Jai mentioned that he probably should have scorped the account siphon, and I think he might be right. My read is that potentially that outer ice outside of the archer was probably a border control. It was something that Jai felt safe enough to push behind, and I think sort of border control into an archer probably feels fine.
Yeah. Well, let's see if Jai can bounce back on the flip side, shall we?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, player of the year last year, so like I'm sure he's gonna pull this one back, right?
Definitely. We see Andromeda playing against Cybernetic Division. So Cybernetic Division, for the people who don't know, says each player maximum hand size is reduced by 1. So both players start off on 4, which can be annoying for the core, but it's definitely going to be annoying for the Andromeda player here, who has 9 cards in hand at the start of a third game and has to go down to 4 somehow.
So this one, I have a little inside intel on this because I have played against this deck and I know what Silent's up to with it. But it's real fun because you're like, well, what on earth are you doing with Cybernetics Division? A corp which notoriously has been seen as one of the weakest corporations for a lot of the game. Generally having like lower hand size hasn't mattered. until NSG came along and decided to make a card which really cared about how many cards you have as a hand size. But maybe I'll just leave it there and let people see if they can work out what Silent might be up to here.
Let's see. For now, Silent going double ice on HQ and then playing a first curfew, making sure Jai has an even smaller hand size. And the vanilla 0 cost ice that has a single simple end run, kind of make sure Jai can't get in very easily.
Jai actually got part of his opening hand here because, like, starting with 9 cards is incredible. But if suddenly you've got a hand size of 3 and you don't have the economic start to actually install some of these cards, you might have a very clunky opening hand that you just can't really do anything with, and you'd end up having to discard a ton of them.
Definitely. And the Career Fair coming in clutch, getting 2 cards out of Jai's hand.
It's coming straight down. You probably want to be a little bit cautious around. There's a fair few ice which do brain damage and things like that. Most of them are sentries. We don't know what ice Silent is on at the moment, but you just want to not accidentally take a brain damage or a core damage, sorry, when your hand size is already 3, because that's starting to get a little scary.
Also, Silent's ice suit is definitely something that's tells me that he wants to win the game really. All of these cheap gear check are not the best when the game goes long, but definitely great when you just want to make sure the runner can't get in your service quickly. And the turtle helps Jai get through most of these very easily. Ooh, and we see
still an Ichor, which we can't steal. We're a click short.
Running last click against HP kind of summons the Ichor on top of the deck. That's what I've learned.
That would have cleared the current as well, which would have brought Jai back to a slightly closer to normal and 4.
Yeah.
The other thing about this ice sweep, really suggests that Silent probably doesn't have much money in the deck, or not enough to be rezzing any sort of big ice, which kind of makes sense because if you're doing something out of sorry, we see an Ichor, and I think we missed the fact that I birthed into Leela here earlier in the game.
That's
so
an important
now
one. We see a Warwick Tracker. Oh my, definitely some. Jay says rude, and I kind of agree. Warrior Tracker, like Resin Warrior Tracker by itself, just to be annoying, is definitely a play. But the Project Veteran in the square right now, one of the agendas that's banned in standard 5/3 that's not worth any points for the first 4 turn, in which you to keep it in your score area. So something that slows the game down a lot, and in quicker game makes sure you basically don't have 3 to 9 more points of agendas in your deck.
Yeah. I mean, this again goes to your fact that Silent's potentially trying to win quite quickly here, and I mean, most Eternal decks are, with a few exceptions, Scorp being one of the exceptions, which isn't trying to win very, very quick. But if you're playing Vacheron, it usually means that you think that you can win before those counters kind of tick down, so that Vacheron steal is irrelevant. We're going to see. I think that that Vacheron is going to become a real agenda before the game's over.
Yeah, I would expect so. We'll see if Jai ends up finding a second one later on that kind of slows him down. But I think the first one getting stolen really quickly is in his favor for sure.
Jai saying that the turn 1 rebirth, he didn't have a clue what so if there's Leela and 419. We might 2 seconds. We lost the stream for a second.
Oh.
I'm gonna Are we back? We're gonna see if we're back. Re-rip.
Rip. Let's
Back
see.
or
I'll
not?
pause the game really quickly.
Yeah,
so
pause it. Pause the game. We can
Apparently it's too
come back to it.
powerful. Okay, now we're
Okay,
back. Okay.
Patrick. Apparently we're back.
Good,
I think I missed what happened in the last turn, but I
outside
did
of
see a moons
Oh,
throw up.
right, yeah.
Ooh,
Outside of
that's
the Jai trashing a moons, nothing really happened. This, like Jai had a PC problem, I want to say. So his computer crashed mid-game, and I kind of spliced the two videos he recorded. So you'll see, yeah, a quick jump back into the game.
This snowing effect will stop very shortly, so
Yeah,
please
yeah.
please hold on. Yeah, luckily they managed to, like, it didn't completely we didn't lose the game because of it, which would have been a shame.
Yeah, and so the recording went fine, so we didn't lose the first part of the game or the whole lobby on JNet.
Yeah. So so Jai here with a played maybe last turn, maybe the turn before, a single copy of Employee Strike, which gave him 2 hand size in a single card, because deleting the Cybernetics division text, ID text, and also removing the current which was in play, which was removing taking the hand size down by 1 as well.
Yeah. Also, Terrible Omen for Silent are the two account siphon in Jai's hand right now. They are a very good way of making sure the corp doesn't have any money for most of the rest of the game, I want to say. So
yeah,
it's looking grim.
and those vanillas are not keeping anyone out right now, especially when
Not
you've
at
got
all.
a turtle down.
Yeah. I wonder if Jai will bother to install a corp here. I just farm those vanillas over and over and over. But I wouldn't expect Silence to have many big buyers anyway.
No, I think if you're seeing, like, I think the vanillas are fine because you see them in a lot of things, but as soon as you see the Quandary, which is on R&D, this is an ice which you occasionally see in Eternal, because this is the cheapest code gate that you can res, which ends the run. We were playing a few of these in Nanosky IG. But yeah, so as soon as you see that, then you're feeling pretty strong that none of the ice is going to be more than 2 or 3 credits to res at the most, because otherwise you'll be on Enigma.
Definitely, yeah, that makes sense. Try contesting the remote again.
Yeah, we're just gonna. Oh, we see a magnet. Well, there we go. That actually can't be broken right now, but I'm sure we're gonna be able to get Turtle up where we can deal with that.
Yeah, Silent on 0 credit, still resing ice. He doesn't care.
Disgusting. What are we seeing here? There's also an enhanced login protocol. Silent is on multiple currents in this deck.
Yeah, I mean, if I get what you're putting down on the hand reducing card that NSG printed, you need a lot of currents to make sure the rumor mill is not going.
I see.
The best counter for this strategy. So I think Silent is on more than 3 currents right now.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that kind of makes sense, and it looks like I mean, Warroid Tracker is not unique, so that wouldn't be blanked by rumor mill. But we've also seen an Ash which would be blanked by rumor mill, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, so like just being aware of rumor mill, which is one of the most powerful cards, which a lot of runners can play, is very wise.
We see Paperclip and Boomerang coming up. I don't think Jai is particularly interested in installing those. He's not pressed to get more stuff on the board to run any of the servers.
Yeah, I mean, right now, as much as we have to pay to get through this ice, we have a Desperado down, and Desperado is a busted ass console.
Yeah.
It's good enough for Ysengrin to not want to play a Marrow in Nessa. That's how good we're talking. So yeah, this is For people who aren't familiar with Desperado, that is Penny Shaver, but on a massive amount of acid. And there we see, I think that was our first glance of the card, which I was assuming that would be on Just Trashed from the remote. That is a copy of Valentina Keeling, a card which really cares about how many cards you have hand size.
Yep, indeed. I think that's mostly silence game plan here, trying to get defend the Keeling over and over and get the runner's hand size to -1 or less, and then win the game off of that.
I mean, it's kind of scary how quickly you can do that, because it was already we've seen this in standard that it happens pretty quickly, you know, because on the runner's turn, and it already gets a power counter, and then it gets another one, and you're down to like 3 cards in hand before you know it. But when you factor in the Cybernetics division sort of -1, and also the -1 from the current, which is currently in play, like you're suddenly down to 2 hand size on that first turn that it's rezzed. So you then have 2 turns to deal with it, and you need to deal with it right then and there.
It's even quicker, I think, because Keeling gets a counter the moment you res it, and then gets a counter instead of your turn. So by the time the game comes back to the runner, they're on 1.
Yeah, it's 2 turns, isn't it? It's 2 turns you have, essentially. Yep. Unless you're playing, you know, some other... Unless you're playing a counter to it. If you're playing something which gives you extra hand size, Hippocamping Mechanicize is a card.
Surely is a card. I don't know if we'll see a lot of it in Eternal, but definitely a card that you can play.
Yeah, I mean, I've been a fan of playing like Beach Party in the past, which I kind of looked into Beach Party Essa the other day, but like I feel like there might be a Beach Party Pancakes Essa deck which hasn't been explored yet, but I'll work that one out for a future GLC League game.
Awesome. We see Jai pushing through the remote again, putting Silent back on basically no money.
Interesting here that Jai goes for the run and not the account siphons. He's clearly, I mean, this is where Jai is a much better player than I am, because I'll just be like, I can account siphon you, so I'm going to account siphon you. And Jai knowing that actually those account siphons are really important for when he needs to use them. He needs to use them, you know, to basically stop Silent being able to win the game at some point. If they're 2 cards then over for some reason, then he's probably going to hold on to those account ciphers for that moment.
Yeah, definitely being patient. Firing off the Bravado here instead to gain the money. Slowly poking HQ. The Ikawa we saw earlier is probably long gone, but there we go. We see a second Project Veteran. Points not yet, but soon.
Okay, so here I think this is the 3rd Spin Doctor. Interesting that Silence on Spin Doctor, because I'm kind of wondering if that's a points thing or whether he likes the... Maybe it's because Spin Doctor is essentially a faster card than Jackson Howard, right? Like Jackson is a slower but gives you more recursion. So maybe the fact that Silence looking for a speedier way, like you say, he's kind of looking to close off the game as fast as possible. Maybe that's the cause for Spin Doctor over Jackson.
Yeah, it might be that. It might be some kind of D-res synergy. You know, if you D-res the Keeling, she gets 1 more counter. So maybe there's a couple of worm receptions in the deck that help you get the Keeling kill quicker, and can also work with Spin Doctor. That's kind of what the Spin Doctor inclusion is telling me. But we haven't seen that yet.
I have a funny feeling that I remember Silent telling me that there was divert powers in this deck, and I think they all got cut.
That might be it.
But here we see medium. Medium is conduit, but so much better. You can dirty laundry and you still get your medium counter. You can Omar, you still get your medium counter. Like it's
You can do mediums running, and they all work together to get you even more cards. So every time you had a gripe with
this blue moose as well has been ticking up since the very first turn where we installed it using that career fair, and you can see like Jai's heap has 2 cards left in it. One of them is the paperclip because just everything has been removed for 2 credits.
There are 13 cards removed from the game. One of them was a rebirth that Jai a few years ago, but the other 12 cards all got removed for 2 credits each. So that's 24 credits that Jai got from that blue moose, I think.
Yeah. Also here we see like exactly the kind of play which I was talking about, Jai waiting for the turn where there's 2 cards in a server, and that's when he chooses to play the account siphon. We see the Ikua now normally you'll be like, well, that's game, but we are no, I think Jai could just wait this out, but like it is kind of scary to just wait it out, right?
I think it might be too slow to wait it out. If my math serves me right, he might be right on time. But if a
current comes down,
yes, I was about to say, if a current comes down, you have to do something about it. Then again, Silence on 0 credits, and nothing is stopping Jai from just running the server and crashing everything.
The fact that Ash is there, but and we do see the current come down. So Ash isn't going to protect this server because Ash is a Psy game or a trace. No, Ash is a trace. It's still money. It is still money, and it's important to notice. Jai's Miss Bones has run out of money, so I mean, he can run this and trash this. It's
definitely true, but like the Desperado kind of keeps you to use, and while Jai lost the link rebirthing into Leela, I think it still is enough to get in and deal with the killing.
Yeah. And I mean, once we've dealt with this, then we can just pivot back to running R&D, which is credit neutral. I think the Ash stays. Yeah, the Ash stays. And then we're just going to go back to R&D. Interestingly, maybe just drawing for... Okay, so at this point, Jai, like, fully knowing that the Vacheron ticks down next turn. So he can kind of just chill here. Like, he's going to win next turn.
The game ends on the end of the start of turn triggers. There you go, with Vacheron triggering off.
So a very rude deck from Silent here. One which I think will 100% catch some people out. Especially if you don't know what's going on, or if you can't find a way to get into that remote like early doors, then you're probably in trouble. Because you won't have long, and all of a sudden, you're already going to be on maybe only 3 or 4 cards in hand. When that Keeling starts ticking up, you're suddenly on very you don't really have many options. So even just finding your ways of getting in is very, very tricky.
Definitely. The criminal matchup looks a little worse maybe than the Anarch one does. I'm assuming Anarch has a bit of a harder time getting into multiple different kind of ice on remote quickly enough. But scary one for sure. But Jai very well followed his deck very well and kind of kept Silence credit pool always close to 0, so he couldn't kill him.
Yeah, and that's it. It was very kind of, like you say, it's like cautiously played by Jai, like very, very restrained at times, but in a great way.
Definitely. So we have Augustus versus Wren, or HaverOfFun versus Wren.
I think we do Augustus versus Wren first.
Let's do it then. All right, then.
For reasons.
Here is game 1 of Augustus Caesar versus Wren, also known as Nice More Often. we see Augustus piloting his Whizzard against Wren's playing Ob, which is the only Ob in the league, as we've seen earlier on the meta breakdown.
Cool. So as it starts, like as soon as you see Ob, like there's a main archetype which I'm expecting. I'm sure you're probably expecting the same. Shall we quickly kind of fill people in as to what you're expecting to see from Ob here?
Definitely. So the most common Ob you could see around is a combo kill Ob that usually plays a bunch of assets and using a Stell Moon to gain kind of fuel his hand and find all the pieces, and then get down a copy of Jeeves that he'll use with in the combination of mutual assert distraction to kind of give the runner 3 or more tags, and then kill them using additional click you gain from Jeeves and high profile target. That's kind of the basic combo line that we've seen out of Ob usually. And Rumor Mill is the best way to shut it down. And I see a Councilman in Augustus's hand, which is also a great way of kind of slowing down the Jeeves if the Corp isn't expecting it.
Yeah, this is I think this Augustus's deck here is kind of teched incredibly well to deal with the Ob matchup because is fully aware of how powerful the Ob is. He has 3 copies of Rumor Mill to start with, which is pretty good on its own. He also has ways of recurring that Rumor Mill. We see in 2 of the run events, which the name's escaping me right now, Katorga Breakout, to get back, and you will see him get back those Rumor Mills the minute that Wren manages to play an event. And Councilman as well, just as an additional way of kind of shutting down this combo, which is really quite rude. Also, Whizzard is very, very good into any asset deck, obviously, because just having free credits to run anything, there's no reason that Augustus isn't running this and trashing whatever it is, because he probably can do, especially now he has a Desperado down.
Yeah, Owen, wow. Wren installing an SSL, kind of looking for credits, I want to say, or maybe some kind of punishment to dish out here.
Yeah, I'm assuming just feeding that because it's now 9 credits, and essentially Ob is another one of those decks where you're probably expecting to win, or you're hoping to win before that SSL really matters. Again, we're seeing a scarcity of resources coming down here. I would be incredibly unsurprised, to see Augustus just immediately get this Rumor Mill back.
I mean, here, reconstruction contracts, like something
interesting,
not usually in the most common Ob build, with rushing it for basically nothing, which feels like cheating. But we haven't seen the spam of assets and eyes that you would usually see with regular Ob list. So I'm kind of considering if this is a different build out of Wren.
Yeah, also, I'm immediately suspicious now. As soon as you see the Rococo, then I'm wondering whether this is more of a build which is doing the kind of like, I'm going to put a Rococo on board, then I'm going to advance it with either Dedication Ceremony or maybe Hollow Man or something, and do the like, if you run it, you're going to take a ton of brain damage, core damage, and if you don't, then I'm going to grab like a Clearinghouse.
And if it's not Clearinghouse, I'm expecting this to kind of find Drago Ivanov, and then
Drago. Yes, yeah. Drago would be the other thing. Absolutely. This is interesting. So Augustus has to decide whether he wants to steal this SDS. It's a big thing here because you might just leave this. You like Red's probably not scoring it anytime soon. Yeah, it chooses not to. Like the Faust, which Augustus has down, more powerful, like more useful than taking the agenda.
Yeah, and with all the Romil going around, Wren is not going to shuffle that in the deck anytime soon. All those unique assets are not going to have a lot of text for a bunch of this game.
Yeah.
Somebody asked if it's not enough for Ob to kind of get 7 cards and then tag the runner for 7. Well, that might work in Standard. Eternal has one magical card called Misdirection, which gets rid of any number of tags as long as you have enough credits to do that. So there's not amount of huge enough stag storm that you can't that you make sure the run doesn't have enough clicks to get through. So you definitely want to kill in one turn.
There's also a lot more tag tech. So like if you're giving the runner a turn, you know, or they might be on something like Aaron. I guess Aaron wouldn't matter because it's paid ability window. But there's more tag tech. So if you're giving the runner a turn to potentially put some more tag tech down or kill tech down, then you probably want to avoid that. Sometimes you will just see people if a runner's gone poor, you will see someone throw out a mutually assured destruction, but it's pretty rare because usually as well, because you're ob, you can find everything that you need. Like it's very easy to find a Jeeves because you can play 3 copies of Cybernetics Virus Suite, which doesn't cost any influence. It's virus but without influence, and you can just get everything that you need there.
Yeah. So I was wrong about not shuffling the agenda. Turns out Wren has the perfect card in hand with the new scarcity of resources to get out of the rumor mill for a second, and then Spin Doctor shuffle. Also, scarcity of resources 2 points of two eternal points, which means Ob, which is usually a deck that's kind of already at 7 and has to make some concessions about what he wants to put in. Now with scarcity, meaning that we're probably not seeing either Mad or Moons in this deck.
Yeah, like definitely, like you'd have to assume Moons is way too much influence for this to be. So yeah, we're kind of expecting a less regular, as much as we could say that Ob. We also like red level clearance. I don't think is a card which shows up in those decks. Maybe that's replacing Moons. If we are kind of doing something with different points, but I'm definitely expecting a fairly different style of deck here. Doing something a little bit different, and I'm pretty interested to see what it is. Unfortunately, again, we're playing Whizzard with a Desperado down and unlimited copies of Rumor Mill from as it seems. So it's gonna be tough for Ob to really pull something together. Is that a Caldera?
That looks like a Caldera, yeah. Some kind of tech against more net damagey. And there's been a CI, core damage CI that's been floating around. That's also something that helps against that.
Yeah, Augustus really loves a tech card. He's loves a good tech card here and there, but still manages to make decks which work. This Ob's got a lot of money. How did we get so much money on this side of the table? I'm like, I haven't seen anything happen.
9 of them came out from the agenda steal, so that's almost half of them, and the rest of them I'm kind of shocked as well. But I mean, with 12 cards in archives, Ren probably had played a few economic operations that we missed.
Yeah. So here's an interesting interaction, because Councilman is not a card which you see very often. Well, it's obviously not one that you see in standard, but it's not even one which you saw that much otherwise. But it says that if Ren reses a card, then you can choose to trash the Councilman, which will stop Ren re-resing the Rococo first of the turn. Kind of interesting, and again, this is the tech against whatever Rem was looking to do with that Rococo. It needed to be resed, so I'm assuming it was going to get dedication ceremonied.
Definitely. Maybe Ren just trying to bully Augustus out of the councilman, trying to force the resource use right away.
Yep. Yeah, because you got to get rid of it somehow, because otherwise, whatever combo is in mind here is not going to work. But yeah, we also see Augustus playing an Ashen. He's a known hater of Levy, but he'll happily play an Ashen. Don't ask because I don't understand it.
That's when you have to save exactly one influence and then to find a spot for the Caldera, I guess. So
Yeah.
you kind of get rid of the Levy and get the Ashen back in.
Oh, that's an unfortunate draw. If Augustus had played the price last click instead of drawing, then he'd have been able to install that Blue Moose using the price. And now he's in a point where he kind of has cards which he probably doesn't want to throw in the bin, but also can't really do anything with.
Yeah. On the other hand, it's not like he's has a lot on the board that requires paying for credits. Zero gives him a little bit of credits here and there, and Faust kind of gets in break size for very cheap. Except interesting. Hortum.
Yeah, so we do see the triple advanced Hortum. Hortum is an ice which I quite like playing in my Eternal decks because there's a lot of AIs floating around in Eternal. I'm kind of interested to see if Augustus considers popping one of these CVs here, and it doesn't look like he's going to, but the triple advance on Hortum suggests to me that Wren's looking to push something out maybe next turn. And she's calling for it here. So she's asking for action because Augustus has the chance to potentially delete a lot of the hand, choosing to do so after the install and just putting 2 advancements. Is that 3 advancements?
That looks like 2. It looks like install advance, which tells me it's either an agenda or maybe the aforementioned Drago.
Yeah, it could. That's true. It could just be the Drago straight from hand. Because I don't know how you're getting in here. But equally, if you're given a tag, then you can always panic and hit this other Clan Vengeance to get rid of any tag punishment which might be in hand. There is actually there's a Black Orchestra in the bin. Augustus isn't anywhere close to installing that yet, but is only a few turns off having enough credits to potentially break the Hortum. Mouseless is trickier though. That's a lot of cards.
That's a lot of cards. Yeah, you can let it fire. I think Wren wasn't expecting. I mean, I don't expect Augustus to break it, and I don't think Wren was expecting Augustus to break it either.
No, I mean if people remember from back in the day, breaking a Mouseless or fully breaking a Mouseless anyway with a Black Orchestra costs you 9 credits plus the install. At a minimum, it's 6 credits plus the install. But that ain't happening anytime short of a stim hack coming down.
Turns out Augustus instead wants to get through it without having to take the tag, which is probably the annoying part. And the DJ Farmer is on Steve, getting something back. I would not be shocked if we see a Kathurga breakout get pulled back the way Augustus can fire another.
True, we see a Scorched now.
Exactly.
Now, there's a rumor mill up currently, so Drago doesn't do anything right now.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is just an SDS and Wren's going to score it out to clear the rumor mill.
They might, yeah. That sounds like a play that would work, and it looks like something like that. Oh, never mind.
Ooh, NAPD contract. I mean, I think Wren would much rather that were an SDS, but it at least gives them a chance to jam another card in this server.
Yeah, the bane of playing only defensive agendas in Eternal is that you don't have a great way to deal with currents, and you only have your currents to kind of face them. So you're protecting you're making the runner like giving him a harder time to score, but at the same time you kind of have to play against the currents a lot more.
And I mean, we talked about Augustus liking a tech card. Maybe Axu could float over the card which we see on the right-hand side there. I believe that's a copy of the Source, if my eyes are pulling that up correctly.
You are not wrong. We've seen one hit the board on game 1, I think.
Oh, wow.
Larrea played the Source against Ysengrin's scoring CI, and it's definitely slowed the game down a little bit. So I would be surprised to see the Source hit the board in this game, unless Augustus really needs the time to get set up and all the money to contest the remote, but I don't think Wren is going to score out this game.
Well, I mean, you say that. I think Red is now just going to look to pivot to scoring out. Like, chance right now, Augustus is low on credits, and does need credits to get into this server. So short of a stim hack or something like that, where he could lose his Ashen, which is actually going to be pretty important right now. It's going to be. Oh yeah. Sorry, Axel, I forgot you cannot float over a card because this is video. But yeah, he is going to need credits here. So I have apparently. I completely misjudged how many credits he actually had.
Black Aggressor breaks Hortum very well. It's only 3 credits to get through the ice, even if it's triple advanced.
Yeah, and we do see there just a push for an agenda, and I think Ren has pivoted slightly here to I'm going to push out behind this triple advanced Hortum, because apart from anything, if she can't really hold on to cards in hand, because like there's a Clan Vengeance here with 2 counters on it. At any moment that could pop, and cards going in the bin, and with Augustus now on 6 points, and I think we saw it there, the pop as soon as the draw.
Yeah, as soon as Bren draws, Augustus pushes the Clan Vengeance button, makes sure they don't have any more agendas to install. And with enough money and the blue moose ticking, it looks very hard for Bren to find another scoring window here.
Yeah. Playing Ashen, obviously there's always the scary thing with an Ashen that you might just remove all of your black orchestras from the bin. Luckily that didn't happen. It would be kind of cursed if that happened, but it is something that you've got to bear it in mind. It could happen.
Definitely an unfortunate option there, and I love the blue moose Ashen epilogue Steve 3 that can keep removing card from the game every turn. We only shuffled about 25 to 30 cards in the bin, in the deck rather. So not many cards left in the stack anyway after the Ashen, I think.
Okay, making a run on HQ, just breaking with the Faust to deal with the tag, and the others are firing. Is that what happened? I kind of missed.
I think we
exactly
just let everything fire, and the discard on Steelskin gave Augustus 2 cards back.
Okay.
Yeah, Scorched Earth. Good old Scorched Earth. People who started playing recently might know it as the old End of the Line, the one that didn't require the corp to remove a tag.
Yeah, much more broken. As you can give a single tag, you can usually kill. Can be a little bit harder in Eternal to do so, but interestingly, Augustus not trashing that Mark Yale. I guess with Rumor Mill up, you don't need to.
Yeah, and it keeps giving him a credit every time he wheels out, thanks to Desperado. So he's not incentivized to get rid of it, even if it's free.
And we're also seeing a high-profile target. So, so if Ren has ways of sticking tags, then they're in a good spot. But they're really coming from behind here, and R&D's getting thin, and we have a medium down, and medium is one of the quickest ways to just close off a game when you're at when you're at a good number of points.
Yeah, Augustus relentless clicking that wheels button to gain 1 credit, and then probably pushing R&D again. Yeah, as we see. Border control gets rezzed. We have the option to install the paperclip, but instead we're going to get through it with Faust. And we're now accessing about almost half of what's left in R&D.
Yeah, I can't quite see how many it is, but it's not many, right? It's like about five cards left,
And there you
and
go.
a win.
Yes.
I mean, that is a game which is purely dominated by the fact that I think there was not a single time where Rumor Mill wasn't up.
I think that might have been it. Yes. I wonder if Wren will pivot to playing a few 2-1s, maybe a couple of standoffs, as an additional way to fight the current war in the later weeks. But for now,
it's either
Romeo definitely putting a lock on the game.
yeah, it's either that or you, maybe an answer is like you try and arc lock down all of the Rumor Mills, but getting them all in the bin at the same time can be a little tricky. But there's it's definitely like Orb. It seems that any version of Orb just is going to struggle against Rumor Mill decks. So you're always going to need to have an answer, maybe a lot of answers to it.
Yeah, Romeo very powerful at stopping one of the best corps in the game in the format, so definitely pop up on that. Let's see if Ren can bounce back in game 2 though. There it is.
So here we have MTI, a corp which has kind of really taken off again recently. A few people definitely were considering that it was, in brackets, too slow for the meta, but Axu, our fearless stream runner right now, took it to sort of first place in the season of the GLC League. And I've been playing it a bit, and it's genuinely quite disgusting.
Yeah.
Playing against MTI is really hard. Really hard to like, especially back in the day. When you were a bit more kind of practiced at playing against MTI, then you kind of knew the lines that you could take. But this is Eternal MTI. It's very, very powerful. It has all the best dice that's there. That's usually very cheap, and can do a lot of disgusting things. And it became even more busted because of the inclusion of Tattoo Bowler, which just turns out to be an absolutely gross card in MTI.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of the slowest, or at least one of the iciest corp in the format. And installing an ice every time the runner runs something is definitely very powerful. And we see exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Tatsubola defending HQ.
And this is like, I mean,
stop.
even if you could break this, you probably wouldn't break this because you're going to get through it. The corp's going to gain money, and then they're going to put it back, and you're going to have to do it again, and the corp's going to gain money. So if you're trying to diversion them for 5 credits, they've made like 4 credits. You've diversioned them for 1 credit, and you've spent a bunch of money to get through.
And if you want to see another curse interaction, welcome to Monica and Skankwork into Teamwork Kundu, where since the corp puts down a new ice, you get to face off against the Skankwork effect again a second time. So making it extremely taxing.
Yeah, Meteor in chat pointing this out. So essentially, you might be more familiar with this interaction as the old Skunkworks former carry interaction, where like rather than it being a void which stops you and makes you go back, if you do anything which like the way the MTI trigger is done is you can fire the Skunkworks first, then you put another piece of ice there, and all of a sudden they're going to have to come up to that server again, and that means you get a second Skunkworks trigger. And so MTI decks will almost always be on 2 Skunkworks unless they're doing asset spam things. If it's a deck which is trying to build a server and do stuff in the server, which is probably the most powerful version of MTI right now, then you'll see Skunkworks being a very, very powerful tool. Obviously, it's really hard as well. Like we're seeing a lot of runners playing things like political operative and pinhole threading. They're both hard cards to play against MT because you're never sure where, like, how much ice you have to deal with until it's sometimes too late.
Yeah. And Rumor Mill would be a great way to shut down this kind of defensive upgrade style.
That's true.
But for now, Wren just setting up. They need a lot more to get in those servers.
And we're
Black
seeing
Costa Charlotte.
Yeah, modern style, the Lacosta Charlotte interaction, which everyone should be familiar with by now, but is powerful enough to be a solid kind of a solid bank for an Eternal deck, especially one. Lacosta's a pretty good card in here anyway, because once you are comfortable jamming out, then you're just going to start pushing agendas through this remote. I would expect this MTI deck to be on Obokata because it usually has enough points to play Obokata, and I'd expect it also to be on the Future Perfect, which is just one of the most frustrating, hardest to steal kind of defensive 5/3s out there. In fact, that package of those two 5/3s is very, very hard to deal with.
Absolutely. The other option could be to play a few Nisei Mark II, which kind of go hand in hand with the extremely expensive remotes. And there's always the option to include one or more copies of Bacteria Programming, which is really, really powerful when you get to score it. And sometimes even giving one to the runner can buy you back a game you were losing.
I mean, I'm a fan. My personal MTI build has 2 copies of Regenesis in it because you can be quite comfortable throwing stuff into the bin as MT because the runner can't just run carelessly to check face downs. So I found it quite a good way of speeding up what is otherwise quite a slow deck as well.
Definitely. And we see Augustus playing Scarcity Services, very powerful current, very common, I want to say also. Despite the 2 Eternal Point it costs, it's a massive slowdown for the runner.
Yeah, and here, like, Wren's main game plan against most corps, especially corps like this, would usually be to be spamming out these account siphons. But I mean, with the amount of money which MT has gained so far, those account siphons are not doing much, especially as the first one going through is not really costing Augustus any money whatsoever.
Yeah, Augustus on 36 credits right now as the hedge fund resolves, and 42 after clicking the regolith is amazing credit count, and I think he'll look to push agendas soon.
Yeah, we don't know what this card in server 3 is, but we're assuming a Spin Doctor or a Jackson. Hasn't been rezzed, so kind of definitely.
Yeah.
And again, like, MTI is one of those weird decks where you can kind of play it asset spam wise because the runner can't just potentially check a face down card unless they maybe have a way of dealing with an Anansi, for instance, or a Sysentan or whatever might be popping out at you from nowhere.
If Aza can protect every server, putting an ice on them, T can do the same by having one ice in hand, just kind of materializing it in front of the runner whenever necessary.
Yeah.
Sysentan getting rezzed, and I mean, Wren is not going to have any problem getting through that, but I don't think it's going to even make a dent on Augustus's credit total.
No, and this is where you have to choose whether you want to continue here. Not much money on Wren's side of the table. Certainly not enough to deal with something like maybe a DNA tracker or an Anansi. Kind of scary. Building up a few turtle counters makes sense.
Getting so close to getting those crowdfunding back, but unfortunately, one run too short.
Yeah, and this is a real tough matchup. If you spent two 2 eternal points on crowdfundings, and you're expecting to make 3 runs against an MTI deck. Good luck with that, because I mean, if people have played Eternal, then they know that I'm a huge Eternal Arasana fan. And I like playing a load of other decks which like making 3 runs on different centrals. Playing against MTI is just impossible. Trying to land a deep dive against MT is like absolute nightmare. Even with Arasana, even if you've got like good ways of dealing with ice, it's really not fun.
Yeah, it's completely lacking the option to exploit an ice server, because anytime an ice could come down, definitely changes a lot of play patterns.
Yeah. This, at this point, Augustus now has all the money that he needs. He now just needs to draw into agendas and probably start scoring out. Like, even with expensive Jinteki ice, 48 credits is probably going to be enough, I'm going to assume.
Yeah, especially when Wren is only on 4 credit. It looks like they have a long way to go before a rig that's robust enough to get through most of the Jinteki ice is gonna come down.
I mean, the one thing that we're not seeing very much of, I know there's one player who is very keen on the archetype, but is like Siffer Parasite decks. But I guess that would be the one thing which might be very good against this kind of MTI. But Siffer Parasite does still have the issue that you need the ice to be red. Oh my gosh, Augustus is on gold farmer. Oh, I mean,
an expensive one.
Oh, that's gross. Yeah, so you kind of, even if you were on Cipher and Parasite, you still need the ice to be res to put the Parasite on it. So that can be really tricky against MTI.
Yeah. Some player like Chisel, like playing Chisel for the same reason, because you can play it on res ice, kind of deal with that before it gets res. But obviously, it kind of gets a game of chicken where you have to make sure you're not the last one to fire.
Yeah.
And we see Obokata getting scored and something else getting pushed right after.
Yeah, I mean, this is it. At this point, you are feeling super comfortable. Axu's asking where the hell Augustus got the influence for a gold farmer from. I kind of want to know as well. I'm guessing I've seen a lot of these MTI decks are on slot machine. Maybe this version has dropped the slot machines for a gold farmer.
Could be.
Which
Slot
I could,
Sorry,
which I could totally see.
Yeah.
Oh, we've seen a tributary res. That's going to make the entire game even more horrendous in terms of dealing with this ice.
Honestly, Jinteki in Eternal has so many all-star pieces of ice. The Tattoo Bola, the Tributary, Seizentan is also like pretty good, and I'm sure Augustus is playing around with some kind of Anansi and or DNA trackers. So like Jinteki has a great Glacier ice suite they can play.
I mean, I think Augustus is more of a fan of DNA Tracker than Anansi, but I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe both in here. A card which I've been enjoying a ton in Eternal is Cloud Eater, because like there's some really nasty tricks that you can do in Eternal to make people run into cards multiple times.
The blue sun player in you is showing up.
Yeah. I mean, blue sun with Cloud Eater is one of my favorites right now. So I think this Anansi is firing. Do we have enough money? I don't think we do.
We're on. Is that a 6? Unfortunately, the quality in this game is not the greatest.
I think it would be a 7 strength Anansi right now, because I'm pretty sure the Tributary fired.
Yeah, jeez. That's 6 credits just to match the strength, and then 3 more to break all the Cybertins. You would get 2 back, but I don't think Ren is doing that this turn.
I think Ren's already got 2 back from the Sysentan as well.
Right, so they are definitely not breaking this Anansi. Damage coming through, hitting the boomerang, which is unfortunate.
Wow, I don't even know. Oh, I guess Boomerang can deal with the tributary. I don't know what else it's going to deal with. Here, I mean, Augustus can choose what he wants to do. Yeah, he does just choose to score out, but like he can just cook that agenda if he really wants to, because there's no rush. It's gonna tick up with counters. I guess maybe you want to score it before like a rebirth Leela comes down just in case, but that's the only thing you're worried about here, right?
Yeah. We see a Unity. I love the inclusion of like one of the newest decoder getting printed. Turns out it's just really, really good.
Yeah, it's been a solid include. It's better than Umbrella if you've got no Trojans in your deck. I can tell you that.
I mean, I wouldn't be against that.
Shout out to Connor. But yeah, I mean, this is a MTI masterclass. I mean, has Ren even accessed anything? Like realistically, like we accessed 1 card after an Anansi fire, which means that Augustus had full control over what that card was. I think that's the only successful run that's gone through.
Outside of maybe a couple archives runs.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, like 2 archives runs. Just feels disgusting. And here we're pushing something which is not, or the card before was not an agenda. So maybe it's very possibly a Caprice Nice in that server as well, making the server like pretty much locked off now.
I'm expecting something like that, yeah. And getting through Caprice Nice through going twice because MT and Skunkworks is definitely out of the question. The problem is I don't think Ren has any other server that's good enough to run outside of maybe a couple of Miracle Run on HQ after this Leela gets down.
Meteor, in response to your question, yeah, Yogg isn't really seen in Eternal. However, like Yogg plus Turbine is a combo, and like there's potentially a deck there. Whether it's just too slow, maybe, but like, you know, if you could do some nonsense with Yogg, Turbine, Egrets, something like that, then you can just run everything for free. Play some sprees, that kind of thing, you know.
I wonder if like the Dinosaurus Yogg kit, like back in the days, could actually be something to contest all of these eyes.
Yeah, I don't think I'll play Dinosaurus, but I would play Yogg plus Turbine in kit.
That makes sense. You could also find space for a Cipher, I guess. That's only 1 influence, and it pushes down ice to 0, so you get it through any code gate.
Yeah, and if you're playing Spree and you're playing Egret, like, then maybe that makes sense. That's probably something I build for next week. I think we're seeing the final score out there. Yeah, with a absolute glacier masterclass from MTI there. Just you're not getting in, and I refuse to let you get in. Really disgusting.
Really fast draw with Charlotte kind of making money and drawing cards right off the bat. The Skunk were definitely protecting, and then all the eyes just coming down and blocking Ren's path over and over and over.
Yeah. Just no, and I mean, as Criminal who wants to make money from successful runs, like it's always been the way, it still is the way, it's the eternal way. Like all of your most powerful econ cards are very run based in Criminal, outside of playing Blue Moose and dripping for some credits each turn. Then that's very hard against a deck which can just throw out ice like this clicklessly. Really, really strong.
So the last matchup we have is HaverOfFun against Toron, and I'll start with the game 1, which is the side maybe fewer people are interested, but I'll spoil that the second game is has a wild matchup. For now, we
Yeah.
see Netrunner Andromeda, piloted by HaverOfFun, playing against Toron CI.
So we've already seen one CI obviously play, which was Jeff. Jeff, a huge fan of playing CI. Jeff likes to play good decks. Essentially, is mostly the way you'll normally see him floating around on CI or Orb and very little else. I don't, but Toron, I'm expecting potentially to be on something of a slightly wilder brew. Known as certainly a way more kind of out there deck builder.
Yeah.
So I'd
I'm
be
very
more
curious to see.
yeah, I'd be more expected to see maybe something like a brain rewiring combo or something along those lines from Toron, as opposed to just scoring out. But we'll see. Like maybe I'm just massively wrong.
Yeah. For now, Toron setting up, playing a Violet Level Clearance on his second turn, and Alex doing kind of the same. The crowdfunding ticking, ready to give more and more value. A bunch of breakers in HaverOfFun's hand, and a blue moose. So lots of money coming in for both players. We'll see if the Andromeda can contest the CI and put kind of a push the brakes on the fast game plan that CI wants to play, and that's an Engram Flash.
Engram Flash, that is not what you're expecting out of CI. Immediately you're like, you've got your hackles up. I'm assuming we've called event here, and we've lost an account siphon to that call. And we see a heli. I don't know what that card does. I have to look
I'll look it up because I have no idea.
I mean, I think my odds on this being like not a standard CI feels pretty damn good right now.
Yeah. So Alien Alpha Test, for people who don't know, it's a HP edition that says play only if the runner installed a resource during their last turn, and is trace 2. If successful, trash one resource add one installed resource to the top of the stack. If unsuccessful, take one bad publicity.
Okay, so this is a tech card against some kind of kill combo, because one of the most powerful thing, or a lot of the most powerful tech cards in Eternal are resources. Like your ways, if you're trying to like really dodge kills, then most of them are resources. And funnily enough, it's the reason why Heartbeat has suddenly pinged up in a few decks, because people have gone, hey, you know what? This deals with like all the damage. It's not restricted to like one specific type of damage, and it's very hard to destroy a Heartbeat or to get it off the board. You have to
Speaking of
like
Heartbeat,
yeah, and we see one coming down here.
yeah.
And yeah, you have to sort of, I don't know, you have to self-growth it, or you have to deal with it in some sort of other manner. But could be kind of tricky. Now, here we see Alex throwing down an account siphon, which used to be a really good way. Like you used to be able to just you could play against CI by denying their credits. CI now has access to a little card called Your Digital Life, which NSG wrapped up in a little bow and donated to the CI Eternal pool, and it is the most disgusting card in CI, because you immediately pop back to a full hand size, full on credits. It's also it's 2 credits to play it, so you can, even if you've got no credits, you can go click player Your Digital Life, and all of a sudden you're back in the game again. Really funny.
Yeah, really powerful card. Definitely clicking for 10 plus credits most of the time you play it in CI. And it saves you massive credit swings, but it also just sets up an enormous HQ hand size where you don't have to worry about spending any credit on some kind of combo and stuff.
Yeah. So here, like, Alex has got to be thinking about, like, do we need to get this heartbeat down? Do we need to get our crowdfundings down so we got something to sell to the heartbeat? Because we could kind of go like install turtle, make some runs to charge up turtle and to get some heartbeats, or maybe we're just looking to draw more cards. But start off with a run here.
Yeah, Alex running without the turbine the turtle right now, just getting his crowdfundings back, and I'm expecting maybe the heartbeat to come down. There it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
protecting him
And
from
then,
future damage.
interestingly, ditching the heartbeat and not the paperclip there.
Maybe he's worried about an arc lockdown or something.
Yeah, could be. Like, again, you're playing against Toron, you don't know what the hell's going on, so like
Yeah.
I can totally respect that.
When CI reses an engram flash, you're kind of worried about anything.
I think when you see a Helion alpha test, then I'm more worried, because then I'm really unsure of what's going on. Okay, well, we get paid off for not installing the Earthrise last turn, so that's got to feel good. Rebirthing into, who do you do? You might even do Steve, you know.
Steve could work if you're running a lot of HQ. If you're running a lot of HQ, the other one you could do is actually Gabe Santiago.
Gabe, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I might even install a Nero because I don't know what's going on and I just want a safety valve.
That could actually work, yeah.
Like, I don't want to hit a I don't know, a freaking next diamond and suddenly lose the game because of it.
Does it get through? What's his name? A brainstorm?
You get to jack out, so yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, I would be so unsurprised to see a brainstorm right now.
Yeah.
Okay, Toron's up to 41 credits and has drawn more than half his deck. Has most of it in their hand right now.
Yeah, actually has more cards in hand than on R&D.
Yeah, which is kind of classic guy. Like, it's always fun watching players play CI in real life. I got a taste of doing it for the first time at EMEA last year, and oh damn, it's hard to hold those cards.
Yeah.
It's even worse when the runner accesses HQ and you're like, right, now I've got to shuffle everything and lay them all out.
Find your D100 and roll it a bunch.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is probably looking quite scary for Alex. I think having the heartbeat down is gonna be like a nice safety valve, because at least you're probably not going to die to anything unless it's doing a ton of damage. So yeah, that's kind of it's sort of interesting.
Yeah. Alex looking like he has a lot of money coming in, enough fodder for the heartbeat. So we'll see if Toron kind of pushes a massive agenda score in the future, or if he's only on the one hill plan, maybe.
Yeah.
For now,
Yeah,
it's
still
43 credits.
Still really unsure, but I'm just feeling like Engram Flush and the fact that there's some kind of tech against some kind of counter tech, or there's counter tech against some kind of tech, just make like oozes kill plan to me. So
yeah,
I'm kind of guessing that that's what's going on here, but I think I don't know what I do at this point. I think I want to get down the turtle and maybe just start charging it up, because you can't really run HQ.
Not right now, and it looks like Alex is kind of on the same page already. Maybe not. Just setting up, you putting those cards down. Still like, keeping the paper leap in hand.
The best thing that you definitely want to be able to do next turn is run archives 3 times if Toron doesn't install something on archives.
Yeah, definitely. So maybe Toron's gonna install a piece of ice on archive to make sure
No, it
That's
goes R&D.
interesting. The ultraviolet level cranes, amazing value, but costs all 3 clicks. We haven't
Yeah.
seen anyone playing Stinson, but that would also be massive swing in terms of value.
Yeah, Brian Stinson's a card which I've always got on my radar as like something which probably needs more stuff going on. We're seeing like one of our first, like probably I guess the only card from the recent set which you're ever going to see in an Eternal criminal deck, which is an alarm clock. And even that I'm kind of surprised by, but it somewhat makes sense. It makes a lot of sense with crowdfunding actually. Like get an extra click to make a run where you can be sure that you're getting through ice.
Yeah,
It's probably
definitely.
pretty decent.
Definitely. We haven't seen any kind of multi-access from HaverOfFun yet. We see a double
No.
install.
I'd assume like one medium is the only is the multi-access if there is any.
Yeah.
Maybe there's like a waking plant. There could be a waking plant. Again, that's like something which works with
Alarm clock.
alarm clock.
So we see double installed. I'm wondering if, with all the money Alex has at his disposal, I wonder if what's Toron's plan with these 2 servers? I would be very scared.
Yeah, maybe one's just a Cybernetics virus suite. It just wants to clear out these turtle counters.
Ooh, but that's
It's
a
a
purchase veteran.
Vacheron. Okay, so now I'm actually really scared.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, is this mid-seasons? But all of a sudden has clicked into something which I'm like really, really worried about, which is this a combo that uses distributed tracing? Because that's a card which doesn't see much play in standard, because it's really, really clumsy and having to spend 2 clicks on it is tricky. But in Eternal, where you've got a lot more ways of gaining an absolute ton of clicks, then distributed tracing can be very, very disgusting. And there's a lot more dirty things that you can do with a single tag.
We see a shipment from Mirror coming down, so it looks like Toron is pushing for either building a remote or probably setting up a combo of some kind.
Yeah.
And yep, it
Let's
takes a
see if
while
one
to
of-
install all the cards because Toron has to find all the
Yeah.
cards in HQ. We see a
I was
wage
going to say, if
worker.
one of these is a wage workers, then I'm worried.
Yep. And we see a defective brain chip.
Oh my gosh! And we're scoring out on a Jupstad. So how much?
Oh my
And
god!
we played a Hunter Seeker. What just happened?
Hunter Seeker.
Can you? Sorry, someone pause the sodding stream a
Yep.
second.
give you a second to react to
we might need to rewind a second because like a lot of things just happened. Right. Firstly, how many clicks did Toron have here?
So between the shipment from Mirrormorph, the biotic, and the wage worker triggering off the current, I think Toron just played something like 6 clicks worth a turn.
Yeah. So here, like feeding the Vacheron makes so much sense. We'd just been talking earlier in this stream about how like you can't really deal with heartbeat. Like you can't get rid of it because it's not a resource or anything like that. There is a card which deals with that, and it's Hunter Seeker. So I think we've just seen a brain rewiring combo. We're about to see a brain rewiring combo kill against a runner that is teched against brain rewiring combo kill, which is hilarious.
That's crazy. And the defective brain chip pushing the 1 from Jupstad Grid into 2 core damage, killing the runner who has to shuffle all of their cards and then draw 1 because of brain wiring. So yeah, massive kill through tech, thanks to a card that you would not usually see in CI.
Yeah, and like having to like this is where it's this hilarious point of like Alex has to kind of run those 2 cards which have been put out because you're like, well, what the hell's going on here?
Yeah.
But you know, like doing that turns out to be the worst thing you could have done.
But I mean, at this point, Toron kind of wins anytime Alex touches an agenda. I think the combo is set up, and unless you snipe enough combo pieces from hand before touching any agenda, that's that would have been game. And
Yeah, I mean, Toron continuing their dominance of like, I'm gonna do stuff with core damage. Currently, like, I've been enjoying their PD deck a lot recently, which I've been tweaking and playing and scoring out salvo testings on top of Jupstad grids is genuinely one of the most fun times you can have in Netrunner, in my opinion.
Let's go into the last game of the
Yeah.
stream with HaverOfFun playing, or rather Toron playing, running into HaverOfFun. We see as it's loading up.
So here we have Toron. Toron, pretty famously now is a real believer in World Tree Woo, as a runner, and has been floating around sort of somewhere between 120 to 150 now. I think back down to about 136 cards, something like that.
It looks 125 is the current list.
They've leaned down a little bit.
Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, World Tree Woo. People are probably more familiar with World Tree Arasana from recent, but World Tree Woo has the ability that, especially with the new cards like Coalescence and Muse, you can now guarantee that you will always have World Tree turn 1 if you want it. And Toron here just having it in their opening hand with a gamble seems a bit disgusting to me.
Never didn't have it. On the other side, we have I have been playing Spark, which is usually a asset spam oriented ID that wants to put down as many advertisement and then res them on every other turn, making sure the runner has the few credits possible. And see, resing here the Marilyn turn 1, making sure Toron can't play the sure gamble click 1 turn 1 is extra annoying.
Yeah, denied. That perfect draw of like having 125 cards, having a gamble in hand, and still not being able to play it click 1 is kind of funny. Not that you care as Woo, because you have a I'm gonna click for free button. Here we're gonna see just the World Tree installed, and then we're gonna run here. Getting rid of his Turtleback's a very, very powerful econ card if you're planning to go very wide. You have to take these down.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see what Toron decides to get with this World Tree, because that's definitely going to trash the Coalescence that's about to get removed from the game after the run ends.
Yeah, and probably, I'm assuming we just... Actually, no, I think we might get a Charizard here, but we'll find out, because I know that Toron is a fan of then just stacking stuff on top of a Charizard and getting credits from doing it. It's either that or he goes for something like a Leprechaun to deal with MU issues, which can otherwise be a problem.
One thing worth pointing out is that the usual play a World Tree Woo does in Eternal is get down either a Deck Deer or a Leprechaun and then put the World Tree on it, so it doesn't cost MU. Right now, Toron has to play with 2 Fury MU because the World Tree came down from hand without having the chance of tutoring this kind of the Daemon program, and this way they'll have to work around this a lot more, make sure they don't go over MU too often, but the Lily Pad is going to help a lot.
Yeah, and hey, look at this card. We see a trick. This is the most modern, the most recent card to hit the ban list of standards, so we can get that down. Stealing an Ares. There was an Ares scored with a bold push from Alex, just sticking it on the table, as you tend to do with Ares last turn. So anything that's trash now is gonna give a tag.
Yeah, definitely important score for HaverOfFun here, because the World Tree can generate a lot of value over the turns, and making sure crushing anything costs 2 credits and a click every time is going to slow them down just enough, maybe, to give them a chance to play into this.
Yeah, and we see the Hyperdriver popped. Hyperdriver is 3 points in Eternal, but generally if you're playing Shaper, Eternal Shaper, you have points to spare because you actually there's very few cards which you normally want to play, certainly ones which don't cost influence, which are pointed in Shaper, which is kind of wild because in Standard Shaper cards seem to get banned all the time, but in Eternal it's all the Anarch and the criminal options. So you'll just see Toron using these hyperdrivers as just tempo. Eternal games sometimes last 4 to 5 turns. If you've got an extra 6 clicks for those 4 to 5 turns, then that's sometimes to turn the tide in your favor.
Also, Toron correcting me in chat, talking about the fact that they usually don't put World 3 on the first World 3 on a daemon. So it turns out the MU problem wasn't really there. It was just concern for the look of the game. But right now they're on 5 clicks, 4 credits, ready to use all that value they got from the hyperdrive and getting a second one on the deck deer.
Yeah. But yeah, also Toron, which is my favorite thing about Eternal World Tree decks is mentioning that the second World Tree goes on a daemon, because if you've ever been able to play a game where you can fire off 2 World Trees per run, it's disgusting, especially when you can just pull stuff out of your deck with Cabinessa Woo. And so most of the time when you pull it out of your deck, it's completely free. It's -1 because of Woo, it's -1 because you're putting it on a deck deer, or it's completely free because you're installing it with World Tree. But firing a World Tree twice on each run or each first run of a turn, it's the kind of gas that you don't get in any other deck.
Yeah, absolutely wild kind of value that can reach. It takes a while, it takes some setting up and getting all the cards down, but definitely an amazing point, amazing feel at that point.
Yeah. We saw like this really early levy. This is the one deck where you can just fire off levies at any point because there's so much value. Because you've just got 3 coalescences back in your deck. For it costs you 5 credits, but all of a sudden you've got things to tutor, you've got things to sell to the World Tree, and it's just like such like Levy is such a disgusting card in a World Tree deck, because it means that you can kind of just you just never run out of juice. You will never run out of juice.
Yeah, definitely. Here, Alex pressing a Sensi Actor Union, a really powerful asset that lets you draw, I think it's 3 cards and then put 1 from anything you have in HQ on the bottom of R&D. So hiding a bunch of agendas away if you don't want them and filtering all your draws for a while.
I've only ever played with this card once. It was during a game of Classics at Nats. And each time I tried to, I got to fire it 1 turn before it was trashed, obviously. And my opponent kept having to say, no, it add another card, and I was like, and then I shuffle one of these back, and they're like, no, it's just any card. It just keeps getting better. It's a dumb. It's such a serious amount of tempo with Sensi's Actors Union.
Yeah, getting it to fire once sounds about right. I don't think anyone in the right mind would let you keep that for long. I don't expect Toron to let that sit on the board for a while.
No, I mean, Toron's not like super cash rich right now, but I think we're probably gonna pop up a little bit in money here. There's a chance that Toron considers installing this Mopus and just clicking it for credits, but I think there's easier ways to get money right now using kind of Coalescence and various World Tree tricks. So that's probably what we're going for to start with. But we'll see how Toron plays this, because Alex's sort of spark is keeping Toron on a reasonably kind of tempering his credits. Certainly, he doesn't have a lot of disposable cash right now.
Yeah, I'm expecting maybe a worm reception or some kind of derez effect to also come down sooner or later for Alex to kind of help him res and derez all those advertisement and slowly whittle down the runners credits. But there we go. We have one of the most powerful economic cards for the runner in this game, and that's Temujin contracts.
Yeah, being able to tutor this from your deck and being able to combine it with Hyperdriver, where you can kind of pretty much clear out a full Temujin, is just one of the most powers. It's what drew me to World Tree when I first started playing Eternal, because I was like, hey, I could play this in Temujin contract. It's very disgusting. So Toron gone from 2 credits to, I think that's 18 in a turn. Seems
Starting
okay.
from basically, I think that he was on 2 credits and something, and now he's on a massive credit count, ready to contest all the assets that I install.
I mean, all we need is a London library, and then we've got a true never-ending rig, right?
At that point, it sounds like a lot of clicks to get
Yeah,
do what you're trying to do, but yeah.
Probably too many. Maybe we just need an everlasting Julie to go with it. Who knows?
Alex, icing up HQ. I wonder if the Temujin was better placed on the Sensi Actor Union, a server that HaverOfFun does not have any intention of icing up ever.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, the other thing is, Toron's not going to have a problem getting through any of this ice.
Sure.
I assume he's on. I assume they're on probably Mayflies. Oh, just drawing into a compilation, which seems pretty good against an Ares deck. That's kind of disgusting. But yeah, but like it's not like Wu has a problem dealing with ice, as we see here, just installing an SMC. Oh, using this to get the second World Tree. So here we go. Maybe swapping this Temujin for another Temujin. Unsure, but we'll find out. We're getting
another hybrid driver, of course, because why not?
Yeah.
And then yes, you're right. You were not wrong.
Swaps out for. Oh no! What? Oh, it's Oh, that's
New Angel
wild.
City Hall. Just trying to avoid a few tags. Saving the clicks. You'll have rid of the New Angel City Hall sooner or later, because it goes away after you steal an agenda, unless
no, because you can be on Film Critic.
Sure, yeah. That's enough points to fit in a Film Critic as well. You're right. So maybe that's not going away. Maybe Toron is protected from tags for the rest of the game.
Yeah, I mean, this is the thing about like the World Tree deck, is you can play all of the best tech cards, like, because you can always find them if you need them, or realistically, you can generally need them, and you've generally got enough money to use them as well. So like New Angela City Hall is quite an expensive way of dealing with tags, essentially, but if you're going to have to clear that tag anyway for 2 credits, then it's technically a click cheaper. And I think, did we see we saw a closed accounts in Alex's hand, right? So like we're kind of assuming that maybe there's C source closed accounts kind of line coming on at some point.
That would be a play, yeah. That being said, right now it doesn't look like Alex has enough credits to deal with that. But they're setting up an iced remote, and Toron, while having 2 World Tree, currently doesn't have a way to break ice. I don't think that's going to be hard to find, though. So we'll see if Toron decides to contest that server.
Yeah, like there's still 2 SMCs in the deck, we assume.
Yeah.
Because we only see 1 in the bin. Very little chance that even Toron would play World Tree Wu without SMCs. We might just be running here to get. So here we get 2 triggers. One of them's going to be the daily casts, and the other is going to be this coalescence.
That's more or less what I expected. Yes, the daily cast is almost out of credits, and Toron perfectly saves the World Tree for that. And we see a lamb coming down as a way to deal with single ice remotes once a turn.
Yeah. I mean, expensive, but definitely getting through anywhere. And that's the only thing you really care about as World Tree Woo, is that, like, as long as you can get in, then once you're in, you can get the tools which you need to then get in permanently, should it be needed. That's
Farmer
still
getting close.
kind of expensive though, right? That's what, like 4 credits? I mean, I guess that's okay.
It is 4 credits. It's not that bad, but I mean, for ISIS costs only 3 to res, and either Corp would force you through a bunch of times. That's something. And Toron is stealing the 3rd copy of Ares, so no more 3-1s to go, but something Alex was probably excited to push forward at least once.
Yeah, and you've kind of got to, like, potentially scoring that second Ares also makes, like, trashes somewhat expensive. Like, you're paying a trash cost, you're paying like 4 credits to avoid 2 tags. And importantly here, so Toron didn't have a film critic down, so that New Angeles City Hall has gone.
Yeah.
Now Alex is too poor currently to like give Toron a tag with anything that I'm aware of. Like, there's definitely no like Drago out on the board. Why is no one playing closed accounts Drago plus red level clearance? Oh, because of rumor mill. But still, people should be.
Yeah.
So, that's potentially a little bit less scary for Toron. But although they have a lot of money right now, it could all go. Like, we know there's a closed account in hand, so it could all just disappear. If Toron ever like misplays at some point.
Yeah, that's definitely an option for Alex to find an avenue to play that closed account and kind of slow down runner again. We see the poor Temujin contracts kind of stranded because there's no more server 7 after the copulation stole the Sensi Actor Union.
I think that's fine. You're always sort of intending to just trash that and sell it and turn it into a daily castle. Normally the other Temujin, but this is somewhat expensive. It's taken Alex down to 0 credits though.
Yeah, but we've the Marilyn clicking and assuming something else on server 1 soon.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll have too much trouble bouncing back.
Choosing not to go through it, I think, is probably correct here, because we're going to have a better way of dealing with that most probably as well. I don't know if there's influence for Hush or anything along those lines, but there might well be.
If you're looking to copy Toron's deck, just pause the video. Every time they go through any trash, you can see basically the whole deck list.
Yeah, I think like Toron may not give you their like most recent. Oh, we do see the film critic there. Yeah, there we go. Might not give you their most recent version, but I think they've been quite happy to share sort of the bare bones of it.
Definitely.
In the past. Oh wow, we talked about ways of dealing with the toll booth. We've just drawn into an Airblades, which is one way of dealing, at least with that on encounter ability. So
that's gonna save Toron about 6 to 9 credits. So
yeah,
amazing draw here. And also, it's an hardware, which maybe we're going to look for more MU in the future, depending on how big the rig gets.
Yeah, and Airblades was always a good install in like certainly I think most people were playing 1 or maybe even 2 of them in World Tree Arasana, because it's a 1 credit install. It does have value in like a few shops, and most of the time that hardware is the hardest thing for you to find something to tutor for. So you really need like some good cheap options to install to go and find your console and things like that.
Absolutely. I think Toron has been very vocal about the fact that the deck, while big, needs to keep a few key ratios between cards. so
Yeah.
you don't overdraw on events or programs or hardware this way. And definitely that's something that they've been working on to keep the deck big, but also very well shaped.
Yeah, actually trying to sell Toron on Mache, which we all know is just absolute cobblers. Meteor's asking about Phasarum. Funnily enough, Meteor, I absolutely was disgusted with myself. I was playing Phasarum in my Arasana. I took it out in lieu of putting a paperclip in for the influence, because I ran into a load of people who were playing massive barriers, and then instantly ran into a deck which was playing a load of archers and things like that, and I couldn't deal with them. So yes, but probably only in Arasana. We're seeing a Rejig in hand, which is a really cool thing to be playing if you're playing like a World Tree deck. You can go and put this first World Tree onto like a Degdeer or a Leprechaun if you want to. You can just use it as value. It's very cool.
Yeah, you just get to keep the card you get from Cabernet Sauvignon as well. So it's just shoot her for something, pay one less, and then make sure you have the click to just kind of reset it. And we see the worm reception. So Alex slowly starting to build a kind of credit denial style that Spark wants to play, rezzing an advertisement every turn, making sure you remove as many crates as possible. But with 2 Rezeki clicking and the 2 World Tree kind of generating more and more value, this looks like a very hard task.
Yeah. I mean, Warm Reception is the one card which really makes Spark kind of pretty interesting, right? Because all of a sudden you've got this card which allows you to de-res stuff. And Spark's issue always used to be like, its ability is only good as long as you have advertisements to res. And as soon as you don't, then it's like it doesn't do anything. So being able to de-res advertisements so you can re-res them as Spark, then suddenly you've got this like kind of interesting thing going. I'm assuming that maybe we're also on Warm Reception, but we haven't seen one yet, and maybe the influence is a bit tricky.
We technically have. There's a very sneaky one on server 12 that Alex res and then using the ability de-resed once again. So it was face up for a very small window of time.
Oh, that was a Warm Reception, right? But
Yeah.
we haven't seen a prototype.
No,
we haven't seen
prototype
a
I
working
don't think we've
prototype
seen yet.
Okay. Plus, like, Warm Reception is just another way of putting, if you're playing asset spam, obviously putting more cards on the board is good.
Absolutely.
We also saw Friends in High Places, which might be the first Eternal Points we've seen out of this Spark deck. I'm unsure if we've seen anything else. I don't even know if we've seen like a Jackson or a Spin Doctor yet. Maybe I'm incorrect.
There's a Spin Doctor thing res on the board, and there's a rumor mill. Oh, sorry, not rumor mill. A scarcity of resources going on. So those are the 3 other Eternal Points we've seen from the corp, and Friends makes it 5, I think.
Yeah. Okay. So we've still potentially got a couple which might be floating around here.
Definitely.
We're going wide, not just as the court, but also as the runner. This is like quite the rig, especially considering if you look at the amount of MU, there's just a lily pad. Now, obviously, there's Degdeers and there's Leprechauns and things like that, but in terms of like hardware MU, it's just a lily pad, and this is why.
Yeah.
Sorry, carry on.
No, I'm a little sad that we didn't get the Shahrazad first installed, which is something I've seen Toron do a lot, because I would add one more layer of insanity of this 15 programs board. That would have been even funnier.
I think, well, maybe not against this. Well, maybe against this one actually. There's always a risk. Toron had an incredibly sad time on stream recently when their entire board, which was loaded on top of a Shahrazad, I trashed it using a Trojan horse. I deleted like 2 World Trees and like a Rezeki and like a bunch of Leprechauns and stuff, all for a single credit. It was kind of disgusting.
Yeah, and Toron being the one who's Hunter Seeker in a corp that's not usually playing it might indicate that that's a very effective way of kind of slowing down a World 3 deck.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see if the other players kind of adapt to the World 3, especially when they know they're going to have to play Toron and kind of bring in more crashing asset deck kind of deal.
Yeah. I mean, this is, you know, like Toron's set up one hell of a board state here. Like, is dripping money for days, has triggers going on, has film critics, so is sort of safe against a load of things. But currently, you know, it is only on 2 points. Now, at some point, I'm sure they will kind of pivot to kind of closing out the game, because at the moment they're only like Alex is putting a lot of assets on the board, but most of them aren't kind of assets you have to deal with or don't have to deal with now. They like maybe give out Alex some money, something like that, but they're not going to cause Toron any problems as of yet.
For sure, yeah. Especially when I think the main plan from Spark is kind of Ethan denial. Having to face against 3 Rezekis is definitely not where you want it to be.
Yeah. Especially 3 Rizakis, which came down for 0 credits.
Probably
plus
came
credits.
down with exactly. Giving Toron a profit rather. Let's see, Toron is still has 3 more clicks, kind of posturing, trying to figure out what's their best move here. We see an interdiction hand, just like the one current. Playing currents in a 125 card deck is definitely can be daunting for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like I'm a bit of a fan of like interdiction is like I'll tell you what. So here it comes down. Who was asking about Yogg earlier?
Yeah.
Was that Meteor? I think. But we've got the Yogg turbine combo here. So along with the air blades, which we don't still have, we could get through this toll booth for 0 credits. Kind of disgusting. Yeah, I'm a big fan of interdiction, mainly because as a shaper, it's like probably your best current that you don't have to spend influence on.
Definitely.
And so just get wrecked, like, or you can wreck an opponent by it because they've got like some disgusting clown server that they've built up, and then you play an interdiction and run it, and you see their face drop. It's hilarious in like a good way. What are we seeing here? I missed what happened.
Well, Alex is still putting down more and more assets, trying to fight the economic fight in some way. There's a lot of drip coming for them as well. But yeah, we see the corp keeps setting up. We see at first, finally, an install behind an ice. Let's see if this pulls Toron into running it. Let's see if it's enough to kind of put a dent in their economy in some way.
At this kind of credit total, I mean, you're kind of maybe it's a pop-up window that it's behind, which is good enough in Spark and kind of makes sense. We're seeing that interdiction played, so just kind of dealing with anything unexpected coming out of nowhere.
We finally see one more of those. The first daemon over install over a different daemon again. We have a muse installed on a dag deer or a leprechaun rather.
On the leprechaun, I think, yeah.
It's pulling out one more coalescence.
Here, I assume then we're selling both, so we're going to sell the coalescence first and then the muse to get 2 more programs.
Yeah, I'm expecting something like that. Once the coalescence is gone, the muse is kind of stranded, so we don't really need it.
Yeah. I mean, what's it? Is one of these getting the 3rd Deg Deer? Yeah, it is.
Yeah, it looks like
it.
I'm expecting maybe a turbine, or I don't see turbine as an option here. So
No, I don't think it's necessary right now.
it helps with Yogg, I guess. But are we going
Yeah,
on the third world
yeah.
tree? Is this an option? Can we feed 3 world trees? I don't think we can.
No, I don't see. The only reason to get the other world tree would be so that you can free up the MU. Like next turn you run and you trash that first world tree to get
Sure.
something
Yeah.
else,
Yeah.
like
That's
freeing
definitely
up
something you can
MU.
do.
Parisi makes sense
Like,
here.
yeah.
Like
Getting
that's
Ascendancy after Union.
Sensi.
Yeah. Having to deal with the tag manually this time around. We don't have any more tech.
Yeah. So the get wrecked moment here is if this is like a Drago, right? In that was put behind this ice.
Yeah.
Because here, like, just you'll have enough credits to go advance, and then close the counts.
Well, but Toron is sitting on a councilman, which
that's
would
true.
save them from the Drago. So,
but you could res it.
You
could res it now. If you res it before your turn starts.
Yes, Alex would have had to res it before, or actually, I think he still has time here.
Yeah, I don't think his turn has technically started, right?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's what's happening here. There's some conversation going on in the chat box.
Unfortunately, we're so zoomed out, it's hard to see.
Yeah, so we're seeing the wage workers resed. So here you've got like the councilman option, which I don't think you're doing for the wage workers.
What do you mean wage worker? I'm assuming you mean warm reception, yeah.
I mean warm reception, yeah. Absolutely.
Cards are becoming so small, it's hard to say. Oh, that's a working
There's
prototype.
the prototype.
Interesting.
So this is a card which I think has even more value in Eternal than in Standard, because kind of for the same reason that I was talking about earlier, that a lot of the really powerful resources, a lot of the really powerful cards in Eternal are resources. We've got things like Blue Moose, technically Temujin, although that's a bit tricky, but you've got like Clan Vengeance. There's a lot of very, very powerful resources, and especially ones which are like, especially lots of tech. And decks which need to hold on to those resources will play stuff to stop you trashing them. But there's no way of stopping you bouncing them back to hand.
I was thinking about Clan Vengeance as well, like forcing the runner to choose between charging it up later or having to pop it now so you don't get it to bounce back on the stack is definitely a very important play, I guess, in Eternal.
Yeah, and we're also seeing a fair amount of Bankar. Like I think a lot of people were kind of leaning on Faust a lot and not playing Bankar, and then suddenly people started playing a bit more sort of like, I'm going to play some anti-AI tech, and you didn't just want to get accidentally locked out by that kind of thing going on. So we're seeing like more Bankar, and Bankar's kind of tricky if you're trying to keep it on the board and there's a warm reception going, which you can like fully charge each turn, which this deck probably can do if it gets like really set up.
We see what looks like a Muse pulling out a Turbine. Very small cards at this point.
Yeah, here I assume we're like trashing both of those. Like, there's no reason you don't want the Turbine down here. Got hands, so I'm assuming you're gonna get that.
Yeah,
but
and it looks like Toron only wanted it to run HQ. Get the Shahrazad.
Wow. We're still building. We're going daemons on daemons and on daemons.
Never stop. I mean, we're out of coalescence at this point, but we have other options. Ooh, we see the closed account again.
Still
and a Bologna.
A sea source.
Yeah. Sea source probably far from firing successfully, at least at this point. But the Bologna getting not stolen, but put on the film critic.
Yeah.
And saved their own 5 credits.
A fun little interaction, which I've kind of just considered, is that warm reception would allow you to install a Drago, double advance it, and do a card.
Yeah.
Because like, although you can't score the card that you've installed the warm reception, it doesn't stop you using it. So that's like a little interaction which we haven't seen yet. Now we don't know if there's any Draggers in here, but I'm just, like having a way of initiating tags seems like a good option.
Definitely. They would also have to go through the councilman, unfortunately, so it wouldn't work in this
That's true.
board specifically, but it would definitely be a play that I would be looking forward to if I were to play against HaverOfFun in the next few weeks. People take notes. Alex keeps installing, resing the resources, or their advertising rather, trying their hardest to slow Toron down, but it's a very hard task. At this point, I don't know if there's anything that can stop the wild board that this World 3 deck build.
I mean, I don't know. Like they're like the fact that there is a closed accounts in hand means that there is always a chance that something happens. Like,
Definitely.
like it's it would be too hard to set up now because you'd have to feed an agenda. But if there was some kind of like tag into closed accounts into game over, not a card that we ever see play, but you could wipe out the entirety of Toron's board here. So like there are like there's always like something, because you never quite know in Eternal exactly what cards you're going to be coming up against facing.
That's absolutely right. Also, I think we've seen the working prototype bounce the film critic back to the stack.
Yeah. Like I mean, there's probably more levies in the deck. We're going to assume there's more levies in the deck. But if you can land a tag and maybe bounce a couple of these daemons to hand, the ones which are holding the breakers, then all of a sudden you might just be able to just score without behind ice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think game over is a really good shout here. It's hard because the runner is already on 5 points and three ones are gone, so I don't know how many more 1-pointers Alex is running. But getting a game over on this board and calling program would definitely bankrupt Toron and get rid of a bunch of programs.
Like it's the kind of card which you just love to see pop up in something like Eternal, when you're like, this has not done anything like really ever, and all of a sudden it's gonna do something nuts.
Yeah.
But maybe we're dreaming too much on that one. But we're seeing some more advertisements.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the format, where cards that maybe didn't make a splash in standard or have been forgotten for a while kind of show up and shine in the exact moment they need to, because of a very niche interaction between what's now a very large card pool.
Yeah. They seem like good cards for Alex. I can't remember its name, but it's the 0 cost to res advertisement, which gains you money whenever the first time Toron makes a run, and World Tree decks like to make a run a turn.
Yeah, that's a tiered subscription you're talking about.
That's the one.
Well, the other one that's been probably not doing much is the CPC generator that gains you a credit the first time runner clicks for a credit.
Or draws, right? I think, or draws.
You might be right. Yeah, you might be right. It's better when the runner is a little bit poor, but when the runner is swimming in money, It only works on draw, basically, which is not the
Yeah.
worst.
I'm wondering where Alex's Technico's at, because like if he was on free Technico instead of CPC generator, then this could be a different game.
Technico, I don't think it's an advertisement. Am I wrong?
It's probably not. Like,
It's a corporation, apparently.
okay. Anyway,
Good question. But yeah, Alex on 21 credits, if I'm seeing the number right. So we're definitely in a situation where Caesars might actually fire and bankrupt both players.
and then it's just a case of who's got the more drip, because
Yeah.
I can't, like, Alex is dripping for 4 next turn, assuming that Toron makes a run, then it's going to be like some more. Like, obviously this working prototype is probably gonna like be able to pop off for 6 credits at some point, but Toron it's always going to have these Rozekis running, so
That's true, but with one gone and the ability to use Spark right after they trigger, it definitely lowers the value of the drip for quite a bit. The worm reception hasn't been pressed yet, so that's definitely something that Alex can use to keep slowly chipping at the awareness critical. It's a news hound.
Okay. Ooh, we have. That's actually gonna be expensive.
Yeah. Has a single subroutine that gives it, then it's a trace that gives a tag, but if there's a current, it also gains an end run subroutine at the end. And since we're still playing with the interdiction on the board, Toron has to do with both subroutines to get through the ice.
I think you're probably tracing through this. Is this a trace 4 from memory? I think it's.
But then you don't get to like the end run is still stopping you.
Yeah, but you just trace it and bounce. Otherwise, you're like breaking this with Lamb. Is that happening? I guess you've got Lamb and no, you don't have Turbine anymore. So it's like a paint and a boost and a break. It's like 7 credits to get through.
That's exactly it. Yeah, that's 7 credits. So it looks like Toron is paying through the trace.
Yeah.
And just bouncing off of it. That makes sense. Even with such a monstrous rig, it looks like expensive NBN ice is still very expensive for this rig.
Yeah, this was a card which used to frustrate me to hell and high water, mainly because it was a sure thing that you'll be playing 3 of them in Asmari alongside free scarcity of resources, and I was a Shaper player at the time and needed to get an Aesop's down.
Yeah, the Newshound scarcity resource is one of my favorite combos. I was on the other side of that matchup a lot. I was playing the Asmari a lot.
Yeah, I hated you at that point.
I'll take it. The deck was called Frustration at its Finest for a reason. So.
Oh yeah, that sounds accurate.
That sounds accurate, yeah.
Okay, so credit totals are kind of hard to place at this point.
Yeah, I think Toron is on 13, Alex is on 20, so enough to fire a C-Source unless I'm... Actually, a C-Source a successful run?
I think it's successful run, so like potentially not, and that's another reason to like not actually pay through that Newshound, because otherwise you really could be in trouble. Installing with daily cast is kind of interesting, because are we just giving this this working prototype a pretty juicy target to potentially bounce back to hand?
That's true, but I'm expecting that to become some kind of tag tag in the near future, as soon as Toron feels they're rich enough to fire off the 2 World Trees. Right now, getting more credits sounds a little tough, though. All the collections are gone, the MU is almost filled, and we don't have a lot of like burst economy to get through the amount of crazy advertisement that's pushing the runner down as well as giving credits to the corp.
I wonder if Toron's play here is now to pivot and to use the symbol chip to sell this, like one of these world trees, get the Mopus down and start clicking that for credits.
Ooh, that would be a very good play. Yeah, that makes sense. We have a deck tier on the board right now, sitting just ready to host one of those expensive programs.
Yeah. Because, like, realistically, right now, how is Alex winning the game? So, like, you can somewhat sit back. I mean, obviously, it gets to a slightly scary point where if Alex just keeps getting a money lead, then any run can become a bit scary.
Yeah.
I
But Toron is
think
sitting on 5, so like
yeah,
if
that's
they
true.
guess right on the right run, I think the game might just be over. We see a new coalescence coming from the simul chip we installed earlier, getting more money, probably becoming a different program in the near future.
Just running here to flip the coalescence. So it will be a successful run, but the money's much tighter in terms of where we're at. I think, yeah, we're getting conduit, so we're now looking to win the game.
Yeah.
Echelon plus conduit, so you're getting through this news hand for 2 credits.
I think news hand is 4 strength, so there you go. Yeah, the echelon only gets to 3, but with the turbine we get to a whole 5. And
God, Pichesau as well, just to make sure that we can close out.
Yeah, running with the conduit, trying to find enough points. We get 2 more runs, I think, thanks to the Pichesau.
Yeah, gonna come back to hand.
It's definitely looking dire with the next turn. Those accounts probably coming down and being bringing the runner down to very few credits.
Oh, we trashed the Marilyn.
I think we're trying to get as many access as we can before the closed accounts come down.
Absolutely. I feel like this Pikachu should have gone back to hand last turn, but maybe we undid it.
I was expecting as
we
well.
ended it. We ended.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Classic kind of, I think, a classic moment of forgetting that Ares is a card.
Yeah, I was about to say.
And there we go. We see the Astro script.
That's exactly 7 points. Astro script coming from the top.
Beautiful.
Very well played from Toron piloting this massive deck. But I think Alex started to pull out a money lead that was big enough that rounds could have come down and maybe swung the game around and kind of changed the outcome.
Yeah, I mean, if the win wasn't on that turn, then it's very possible that that something kind of disgusting happens next turn, and it would have been pretty interesting to see. One thing we could say is that Astro script should be unerrated. I think everyone can get behind that. I know Ren's in chat, so
I've seen a lot of people talking about that as well.
Yeah, I think it would be fun. It would be nice to see some more decks scoring out. You know, like in Eternal.
I'm not against it.
That's something which I think a fair few people in the Eternal community are kind of behind. So free Astro, let's go. They were fun games.
Yeah,
they were like
very fun games.
Very wide different. You know, this is like a very this is hardly like everyone's brought the same deck. It's far from a solved format, or you know, like there's decks which definitely seem stronger, but not everyone wants to play those same decks.
Yeah, no, very wide spectrum, and we see. Thank you, Axel, for pulling it out. The standings for the week 1. We see Toron and Augustus Caesar kind of at the top with their 2 sweeps. We have Silent Arbiter, Jai, Larrea, and Ysengrin all on 3 and 3, so on 3 points. OF 1515 with was on their
the
break week.
They had the bye.
Exactly. Every player has a bye in this 9-week format, so you'll see them in the next 8 weeks for sure. And then we have Nice More Often and or Wren and HaverOfFun at the bottom right now, but definitely looking to bounce back up in next weeks.
Yeah, still everything to play for at this point, and I guess we should probably just remind everyone that we are going to be here every single week for the next 9 weeks. So on a Sunday, same time as we started now, we're going to be trying to, like, whatever time that is for you, it's like about 7 o'clock for me here in the UK. Adjust that however you wish. But you'll be able to catch us live on stream with a rotating cast of commentators, some fantastic names which Warlock and Podrick have lined up for this. I know we've got Andre doing some of them. We've got Cobra Bubbles stepping in for a couple of the streams, but every single week you'll be able to catch the hottest eternal matchmaking going on right here at the Eternal Super League.
Thank you all for watching, and see you next Sunday then.
Ciao.
Bye.